Bear
No,
with
now
us,
I
folks.
now I think it works. All right.
Just trying to fix everything. Trying to
Okay.
not be retarded. The most technically retarded podcast on Substack.
No, it's the best, the most high tech. All right,
The
welcome
duct
to the
tape
Black
production
Ibis.
adds charm, lets
Yeah.
people know you're not feds or clankers. Thank you, Jason.
Exactly.
What a great comment.
I blame Substack because they're the ones that don't have their integration. They keep on throwing out all these features like here's a live streaming, but it makes it has no options, no integration. You have to go on to 4 different pages to make this shit work. And every other if we were using just YouTube, it would be an easy thing. Like YouTube goes right into StreamYard. Substack, you have to do these workarounds, and it messes up my audio through my monitor headphones, and it makes no sense. For some reason, it feeds back to my speakers instead of my headphones, and it's just really it causes super feedback. So I have to lower the volume on Substack. Anyways, welcome to the Black Ibis Social Club. My name is Alexander Constantine, and my co-host, is Phisto Sobani, a member of the Fascist Teachers Union of America. So how's your week been?
Oh, fine.
I gotta pop it. Wait, before you go, I've got to pop into Zinni real fast.
Yeah, no problem. Pop in the Zinni, baby.
Day.
Yeah, I got some coffee here in my coffee cup. I'll be sipping that throughout the episode. Now my week is going fine. We're on the second week of school. Students returned last week. I've been teaching my government and debate class. The first part of the year is going to be government, American government, preparing them for a civics exam at the end of the semester. First time I've ever done anything like this, and it turns out it's kind of in my wheelhouse, talking about politics, talking about government, talking about power, talking about where this stuff comes from. So at the moment, I'm just trying to we're just trying to download a bunch of vocabulary into the kids' brains, show them a bunch of the Lego bricks, and then we're going to start putting the Lego bricks together probably next week. So we'll see how it goes. But my classes are really great. Yeah, I don't have any classes that this year. I don't have any of the classes that stand out as difficult. They all have their own personalities and they all have their own kind of vibe. I got a couple kids this year where I'm probably gonna have to slap them around a little bit. But everybody seems really personable and everybody seems to really kind of be receptive to my method. This is only my 4th year. This is my 4th class ever. So I'm kind of hitting the ground running. Yeah, I'm hitting the ground running a lot harder than I have the past couple of years. So it's going fine. It's going fine. Should have some fun stories to write about coming up on my Substack, and then obviously more fodder for the glory of the Black Ibis podcast.
Well, that's actually one of your adventures through education have been some of my favorite episodes of the show, to be honest. I just really enjoyed the whole thing. Oh, by the way, today is the 30th episode of season 2. Can you believe that?
Oh,
episode
cool.
number
30. Amazing. Right. 30. Big fat 30.
All right. And if you guys didn't listen to last week's episode, it came out yesterday because I live in South Carolina. Because the feds trying to hold us down with their shitty South Carolina internet. Everybody knows, former guests like Josh Tatter that lives 15 minutes away. He knows. Our internet here is third world, man. I had better internet in Papua New Guinea than I do here in South Carolina. Yeah. It's like a lightning storm and my internet just dies. And my electricity dies.
It's the same way here. It was funny because after we got off with Karis, after we got off the podcast with Karis, we were chatting for 2 minutes, and I was like, guys, you're gonna lose me. And moments later, boom, gone.
Yeah, we ended up chatting for another 40 minutes or so, which was pretty cool.
Oh wow. So the storm did me a favor because
you'd have been on for a while. We weren't recording though. We offline,
offline recording.
Yeah, but the storm kind of got our episode because there's a few little parts where I had to edit away a little bit of sections that came out really jacked up because of the on the recording. They sounded fine on the live audio, but on the recording, it just I don't know, it didn't they
Yeah.
fucked it up or something.
Magic of the internet. The magic of the internet. Well, I'm glad my teacher adventures are amusing.
But yeah.
I have much to say, more to say already, but we can get to that.
Well, of course. I'm looking for a
comes.
post. I'm looking for that post right now. The one we were talking about. I want to read it.
Oh, the one about my name change?
No. The fascist post.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Oh, that's the one. Where's it at?
It's on my Substack. You'll see. If you go to me. Oh, I actually. So I did a little shit post. Black Ibis going live soon. Come check out my new title. You'll love it, I'm sure. At Randy Weingarten.
Oh yeah.
So she's like the leader, I guess, of like the National Teachers Union or one of the big National Teachers Union. Absolute freaking, maximum shit lib. I get spam from her, and I'm just like, lady, I'm trying to get a kid to learn how to spell sovereignty correctly. I do not care what you're doing about Trump. I just don't care. All right. I have other concerns that do not have anything to do with whatever bullshit you're on about today.
Well,
as per usual.
Well, here's the post. It's from the Contrarian. It's a quote. The Contrarian. I don't know. It looks like a shit lib thing. I don't know. Anyways, it says it's got this
shit lib thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's got this fucking disgusting old woman on there, all fucking gross and old, fucking face melting, ugly, disgusting creature. Like big glasses, hideous. Ugh. Like like liberalism comes out in their pores, I think, because they're all ugly. Like they're all ugly as young people, and they all age like Momra, the ever living. Just ugly creatures. Liberals.
Yeah. I really dislike from just an aesthetic point. Everything is just people staring into cameras now.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's why we don't do
real close up, just your head. Like there's no studios, there's no framing, there's no interesting locations. Like I'm glad we don't do video on this podcast because shut the fuck up. Like no, look, it's just gonna be our big old heads looking real close. No. You just have to listen to the sonorous tones. It's a radio show,
But this lady's like fascist. Okay, the quote is fascists fear teachers because we create agency, we create opportunity, we help kids create critical thinking. Lady, shut the fuck up. Okay, like shut the fuck up, right? And listen, who are you talking to? Like we've never been to school. Look, I have spent my entire young life in public school in California. There is no critical thinking in California. First of all, you dumb fucking cunt. I'd be surprised high school knowing how to fucking read. You know what teachers do most of the time? Teach motherfuckers to speak English, basically trying to even like speak basic English, reading Cat in the Hat at the end of high school, let alone critical thinking. Yeah, shut up, lady, right? Like it's cities like Baltimore, public schools have zero math and reading comprehension at high school level, right? And that's pushing on to community college level. So how about you teach them to fucking read first, right? But the hubris, right? The arrogance that these old boomer women have is like critical thinking. You teach the same warmed over garbage that you have been taught and your children have been taught and your grandchildren have been taught. It is the same old 1969 nonsense rebellion against the government or whatever. You are the government. You are the system, lady. You're not rebelling against anybody. Look at these protests. It's a bunch of old fucks. Nobody young is going to these protests because nobody gives a shit, or they're too fucking retarded staring into some like hypno-toad robot fucking machine, right? But rebellion, the same shit we've heard since I'm 42 years old. Rebel my fucking balls, lady. You know what I mean? What?
Yeah.
The same rebellion? Get out of here. Go on.
It's
go fuck yourself, dude. Like, teach your children how to fucking read a book, because more than half your kids in public schools can't even fucking read at a goddamn fucking middle school level, let alone rebel and critical thinking. Man, fuck yourself, lady. You know what I mean? How about Anyways, I hate teachers. Most of them.
Man.
There's some great teachers, present company included.
I hate teachers. educators can be pretty great. Like I'm actually doing the thing. But nah, teachers, man, it's like today, my colleague and I, we had to go to this training, and we were laughing about it afterwards. We're like, it's one of these things where you have a person in a job that isn't a real job, and their job is to train teachers. And really, it's just a big old joke. It's just a big, the only reason we go is because we'll get in bigger trouble if we don't. But thankfully, him and I are able to like actually make it useful to us because we
real fast
anyway. Yeah.
Teachers like her spread critical thinking and rebellion in the same way America spreads freedom and democracy and peace through Tomahawk missiles. Okay, that's the kind of bullshit. Fucking double speak,
they spread
lady.
it. They spread it
in rebelling against nothing. Okay, you're in rebelling against nothing. You'd have a vapor. You'd have the vapors if I walked into your classroom as a high school kid, like I was, and lit up a fucking stogie. Right? I remember I had this teacher once that was like, "You're such a, you're bad. I'm a failure." Man, fuck you, lady. Like you're rebelling against nothing. You know what I mean?
Like I'm joining the army. I'm out of here.
I'm like, I'm gonna fucking go be a homeless person. That's rebelling. I'm gonna be Ted Kaczynski, Uncle Ted. I'm gonna live in the woods. That's rebelling. Okay, not your guidance counselor enroll in college. Oh, you should become a middle marketing manager. You should go into tech. You should work in the tech in Silicon. Man, fuck you, man. I'm gonna rebel all day. I'm gonna be a homeless person. I'm gonna drink moonshine made out of piss. That's what I'm gonna do. That's rebelling. Off grid.
Man.
Drinking fermented.
Matt's see. Matt's got a great point here too. Critical thinking is important until you get into high school and they're told to turn your brain off to fit into society. It's like, lady, with literally the German model, right? Now we're creating workers here. We're creating, that's what the school system does. Never mind critical thinking. Back in the day, that was just thinking. All right, that's just thinking. All right.
Yeah.
There's no special modifier you put at the front there. Anyway. It's all fake.
We're gonna invent words for everything. Critical thinking. That's just thinking. Genocide. That's just like regular history. Blah 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 blah.
Right. That was popping up elsewhere. I forget.
It's the Ukrainian genocide thing.
Everything's
a genocide nowadays. Okay, like shut up.
It's funny because when you talk to students and you're real with them about it, I have students bring that up to me and they talk about it like that. I'm like, guys, that's just history. They pause and then they kind of click and they're like, yeah, you're right, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, it's just, that's what you do. You conquer a place, you kill all the men, you take the women, you take the children, you raise them in your culture. That's what the winners do, guys. That's what the winners do. And we've forgotten that because, managerialism is going to make everything safe and beautiful. And we're going to move into the flattened dead future where no one ever gets hurt ever. And it's just a big old game of bumper bowling. When you set up the bumpers at the bowling alley, it's just that over and over and over again forever. Right. No risk of a gutter ball ever.
How many masks, like COVID masks, do you think these broads have on standby in their pocket or their purses?
Oh, my gosh.
They're like about ready to mask
numbers
up.
Go that high? I was never good at math in school, so I don't even know if numbers go that high, to be honest.
So why are you gonna start this crazy? I gotta pop another Zinni now. I'm gonna have double Zinni. I'm gonna go crazy. With these old ladies.
Double Zinni Alex. Oh god,
it's just like, oh man. Well, that's exciting. That's exciting that you're out there.
Yeah. Let's move up to the good stuff. One of my favorite questions I've had so far is, who's that guy? Who's that guy in the painting above your desk? And he's pointing at my Tokugawa Ieyasu painting. Started talking a little bit about the Shogun period and stuff like that. So kids asking questions, it's fun.
That's good stuff. In the chat, Jason McGinty said enough to get 25,000 likes on Substack. Note. Okay, well I'll tell you right now, Substack is fake and gay. Right? There's no way those are real numbers.
Yeah, 100%.
All these like boomer or like mediocre ass like Gen X like Substack like shitlib accounts will have like 40,000 likes and like 5 comments, and like 4 of those comments are absolutely retarded shit from like obviously bot accounts or boomers, which are basically boomer. Like the boomers and bots are indistinguishable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that contrarian note which that's supposed to be like a big account. It's got the big blue check and everything. It's got 34 likes, 4 comments, 12 restacks. My glib comment has 32 likes, 12 comments, and a restack.
Right.
Like it's performing pretty much at the same level.
Yeah, there's no the likes on Substack are absolutely fake. They're not real.
Oh, yeah.
I would not be shocked to find out that Substack basically takes money from these people, or these people are, you know, having like fake accounts that are like bot accounts. I mean, how hard, okay, like hypothetically speaking, right? How hard is it for a company like a media company that's trying to raise its profile, right, to have a locked account that you can't really see who follows it, right? And then basically pay bots to pay itself, right? All it's losing is tax money, or like, you know, taxes in the what do you call it, the whatever the payment processor. That's all it's losing, because it's just paying itself, right? So I absolutely don't believe that any of these like media company accounts are real. They're just absolute garbage.
Yeah.
You know, there's no organic engagement on any post that they make, and it's absolutely fake. It's nonsense, right? And it's really sad that Substack allows that, because Substack is supposed to have a high integrity, and over the last year, it's not shown very high integrity when it comes to this kind of stuff, because it is blatant. I'm not new on the internet, man. I've been living on the Matrix.
I've seen a Photoshop in my time. I've seen a Photoshop or two in my time.
Yeah, since 1995, right? So when a media company has engagement, but from like 100 like blank no profile accounts, I don't buy it, bruh. Okay, you don't need to be a high IQ individual to figure that mystery out, especially when it's retarded ass shit like that, you know? So yeah, I don't buy it. It's complete nonsense.
Yeah, Matt had a great question just for those listening at home. Do you ever share Oda Nobunaga asshole stories? Yeah, one of my favorite myths that I like to tell in class is also the bird myth about getting the bird to sing. Are you familiar with this story?
No, I'm not. Go ahead. Let me know.
It's kind of cool. I think it's legit. Maybe it's just a thing I read on the internet, but I like it because it's the reason why Tokugawa is the greatest shogun. But the idea behind it is that there's a bird that won't sing. So Nobunaga comes up to it and threatens it, and is going to be a real asshole to it and all this stuff. And the bird doesn't sing. Hideyoshi comes up and explains, hey, I'm going to convince you to sing. I'm going to persuade you to sing. And he's going to use all his powers of diplomacy. And Tokugawa shows up. He gets a try. He just pulls up a chair, sits down, looks right at the bird and says, I'll wait. And so he waits, and then eventually the bird sings. I've used that story with students. I remember last year I had a group of students that were just having such a hard time. And I was patient. And then eventually we had a lesson that just really connected. And then I shared that story with them, and they're looking at me going, wait, you knew we were going to learn something eventually. And I said, yep, gotcha. And like the vibe of the class really changed after that, because they saw and they're like, oh shit, man, you got us. I was like, yep, I was going to teach you something eventually, because that's what students do. Birds sing, you guys learn. So I'll just wait.
You know what you need to, have you ever taught your students when you do Japan stuff again? Have you ever done death poems?
No, I have not. I need to do that. Actually, this year I could do it because they want us to focus on reading again this year. So next semester would be perfect, because dude, it's gonna be a free for all next semester. So like Japanese death poems, that's a great idea.
Right, because they're short.
Listeners, if you guys can recommend any, drop them in the chat. But
well,
that would be,
do you guys know what death poems are? Just in case, we should just
remind remind all of us, because I'm not going to explain it very well. But
in Japanese, Japanese samurai tradition, right? Japanese nobility and men of wealth and taste, men of honor, right
Black
before
Ibis
their Black Ibis listeners throughout the ages of ages, upon their deathbed, right about the time they're about to commit final seppuku and disembowel themselves while their assistant chopped off their head, or they're dying in their bed. They would write a death poem. It's called the jize, and I don't know if I said it right. My Japanese is bad, but it's called the death poem, and it basically is. It's like, how in Western culture we put like a quote or something on our headstones or gravestones.
Yeah. Yep.
In Japanese culture, they wrote their own gravestones. You're basically writing your own gravestone, right?
Writing your own obituary.
Basically, right? So there's tons, and there's a book I bought. I'm actually gonna grab it right now at the Tokyo airport. It's a book of Japanese poems. I'm gonna pull it out real fast. Where's my death poem? And I'm sitting there reading Japanese death.
Where's my death poem book?
Where's my death poem? All right,
here we go, listeners.
Japanese death poems written by. Well, first of all, I'm gonna read Yukio Mishima's death poem. Right.
Oh yes, perfect.
And Yukio Mishima's death poem is as follows: a small night storm blows, saying, "Falling is the essence of a flower, preceding those who hesitate." That's just gangster, right? Like
preceding those who hesitate. Wait, read that one more time.
A small night storm blows, saying, "Falling is the essence of a flower, preceding those who hesitate." Right.
Wow. Damn, dude. All right.
He wrote that. Then he took over the military school, and let me see what we got here. Death poems. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Just hit me, man.
Here's a good one by Saimu, died 1679, past the age of 70. Dawn breaks and the blossoms open, gates of paradise. There we go. You gotta scribble that shit as you're dying. Or I borrow moonlight for this journey of 1,000,000 miles. That's deep.
That's great.
Gangster, right?
Oh, that's hey. You ought to mail me that book, man. I'll use it.
I know.
I'll use it. I don't even care.
I just think that's really cool,
Yeah, that is really cool.
Like Ipu died on the 24th day of the 5th month, 1731, at the age of 67, falling in the wind gust of evergreen leaves. That's so good,
The wind of evergreen leaves.
So I need to start basically getting my death poem ready, or like yours. You should have yours ready to go as you're dying.
Oh, I already have it ready. I already have it ready to go. I have it ready.
Retards dropping.
Shut up, retard. That's all I have to say. That's my death poem. Shut up, retard.
That's gonna say that, and I always elaborate funerary things, right? There's one about drinking that I can't find. It's by Basho. Let me see if I can find it online, which is really good because it always made me laugh.
Basho, this will be fun. I could definitely bring these into class this year, and I think
they're really short, and you can actually really teach it.
Yeah, in the moments before death, they would write these things, scribble these things down. Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Just really cool stuff like that.
Yeah, it'll be a good opportunity too, just to show that poetry can be good, because you don't have a lot of poets these days, but every so often, because last year I found a couple in my classes, and I like to think that I encourage them that in 5, 10, 15 years they'll be getting 5 likes on Substack and celebrating a paid subscriber. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping I'll get at least 1 or 2 of them in that direction and help them out with that sort of thing.
Right.
So nice.
And it's such a cool idea to kind of have this here we go. I found it. I found my favorite death poem. Okay. Actually, it's by Moriya Senon, death poem 1839. This is one that I really appreciate. It's bury me when I die beneath a wine barrel in a tavern. With luck, the cask will leak.
I like that guy. I
thought it was by Basha, but it's by Moriya. Yeah.
You know what I'm looking forward to doing? Something I'm looking forward to do with, something I'm looking forward to doing with Japan. Like okay, so like this class that I'm teaching is really interesting because it has to. I mean, they're freshmen, right? They're high school freshmen, so it essentially is like boilerplate intro to politics and American government. Like it's not that out there, you know what I mean? It's really straightforward, and I'm sure there'd be plenty of people that would have all kinds of problems with the content that I'm teaching, especially like the anti-statists and like this and that and the other thing. Look, I'm just laying out how it's supposed to work, right? But I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to keep from making it kind of weird and making it a little bit out there. And when it comes to Japan, I can't wait to bring up the fact that, you know, like today yesterday and today we're talking about like where the power of government is supposedly coming from. You know, is divine right of kings. We're talking about social contracts, stuff like that. You know, just getting the kids thinking about it. And then at some point, I'm going to bring up Emperor Naruhito and be like, guys, you know, the emperor is still a thing in Japan, right? Like, wait, what? Yeah, no, that's still like, that's where all the authority of the government, even though they have, you know, kind of a modern liberal democracy, the emperor is still there, guys. Just sitting there, waiting. You know? And then one of the most popular political parties in Japan wants to bring them back, actually. You know, like, yeah, I mean, and in Japan, like they could, like that would be perfectly legal. That would be perfectly fine. Like that is a possibility. It's the same imperial line going back all the way through World War II and into the ancient times. So, you know, here we go. And it's just to like kind of mix it up a little bit to show them like, you know, there's the way things work in reality. And then there's the way that everyone is going to tell you they actually work. And part of, I think it's probably important because part of being a grown-up citizen, being a grown-ass adult, is being able to navigate the reality versus, well, the fantasy, for lack of a better word, you know, and how to, and what's actually going on.
You know, like I could see a country like Japan. I mean, the emperor is still the emperor. And, you know, if you study Japanese history, the emperor in Japan has always waxed and waned in importance. And for the most of what we think of, you know, the samurai era, the medieval era, and the early modern era of Japan, the emperor has been nothing but a kind of a symbolic, more of a religious priestly, a sort of a Shinto Pope kind of situation is what the emperor was.
Shinto Pope. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, basically, right? So there's always been a kind of a ceremonial, but like still very traditional way. And then, of course, during the Meiji Restoration is when the emperor became important again. For you guys that don't understand, the Meiji Restoration was basically during the Victorian era of Japan, well into World War II, basically, and during the militarization of Japan. It's when the Japanese, you know, you got a Tom Cruise movie, and that's mid-century, which is The Last Samurai. And people are always like, oh, Tom Cruise is a samurai. Well, not really, bro. The whole point of The Last Samurai is that the samurai, which were the servant of the clans and of the shogun, were defeated because they became degenerate, and they kind of lost their honor in a way, and they lost to the emperor's armies and to the peasants. It was a high-low kind of revolt against the samurai clans. And then the Meiji Restoration happened. And during the Meiji Restoration, you have basically the rise of Japan towards superpowerdom, where they basically were looked around and said, during the last 200-300 years, we were very closed off society, and damn, these Europeans are going to kick our ass. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. They saw.
Right. So what the Meiji Emperor did was he sent out scientists and engineers and builders Generals. All over it. Yeah, mostly to France, and they came back in the United States
too. Yeah, they had those big tours across the entire nation where they basically learned all the things, or learned as much as they possibly could.
Right. And they went on tours and they studied, and they came back and they brought French engineers with them, American engineers, all kinds of stuff. And they brought Japan into the 20th century. They basically sped run the industrial age, right? They were yeah, no, you know.
Naruto ran it. That's what they did.
Yeah, they
They
did.
Naruto ran
They
industrially.
completely sped run, right? And right, that's
Yeah,
exactly what they
exactly.
did,
Yeah,
Matt.
what Matt said. Yep.
In the chat, Matt said they looked around and saw what happened to the Chinese and said no thanks. Right, the Chinese in the 19th century, late 18th, 19th century were basically cucked by the European powers. Right,
Big
the
time.
Box Rebellion and the opium crisis, and basically
Opium
the
Wars.
founding of
Yep.
Hong Kong. Yeah, they were basically cucked. They were basically like pawns
Chopped
of
into bits.
the pawns of chopped into parts, split between the different great powers. And the Japanese said, "Oh no, oh no, oh no, son,
Oh
oh
hell
no,
no.
oh, hell no, sama, we are going to not be that."
We're
So
gonna go ahead and not do
when
that.
I was doing a Navy thing and I was stationed in Yokosuka, Japan, right? There was Mikasa Park, and Mikasa Park and the whole area around the harbor was built by French engineers, right? It was really interesting, right? French and Prussian engineers. And right across like the area where like I worked was it was called Mikasa Park because the Mikasa battleship was there. And this is like a 19th century, early 20th century, like one of those like coal powered, steam battleships, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was the main battleship that defeated the Russians in the Russo-Japanese War, like right around World War One. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Russo-Japanese War. It's really a war that its blowback, its side effect, right, is what caused it. It led to the October Revolution and communism in Russia. And
but yeah, didn't Russia like steam a navy all the way to the other side of the world, and then they got clapped by the Japanese?
Right. They were arrogant, and they sent a bunch of undertrained, under-equipped sailors, and the Japanese were doing their industrialism speed run, and they were using cheat codes and stuff, and they wrecked them. They wrecked them,
Yeah,
and
it was bad.
The remnants of the sailors made their way back into back to Russia, and they're pretty freaking pissed at and it was really the Navy that was the first kind of like impetus towards the Soviet Revolution, and that's like that's what went red first during that, and a lot of them was because they were pissed off and how they felt abandoned and misused in the Russo-Japanese War. For the Japanese, the Russo-Japanese War was really important because it was what brought them into like the world stage, like they became like a power, like people were like, okay, we're gonna listen to these dudes. Okay, Asia's theirs. Is kind of like at the end of that war, which was very much at the same time as World War One. It was around the same kind of time frame. Interestingly enough, about the Navy going red in your favorite little conflict, the Spanish Civil War, the Spanish Navy also went red. There's something about navies going red. You know what I mean? I wonder what that is.
Well, they're cosmopolitan. They've seen the world, They're degenerates and sluts. And, no, I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass.
I think this is my theory, right? I think the reason is, so that would be accurate today. If you were to take the United States and look at the military, what would be the most liberal and conservative? The combat kind of arms, the Marine Corps and the Army are probably the most conservative of the two.
That would be my guess.
With the Marine Corps being the most conservative.
Yes, absolutely.
But they're all pretty much 50-50 split. The Navy and the Air Force tends to be a lot more liberal leaning. The Navy specifically tends to be the most like liberal leaning of the services. Of course, there's different communities within the military and blah, 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 right? But I would safe to say that the Navy tends to be the most progressive minded of the elements. But I think historically speaking, the reason why the navies in these early 20th century historical conflicts tended to go red is because of its nobility and enlisted. Right, Matt. That's true, right? But initially, the Navy the main force of the Navy returning from the Russo-Japanese War did go Bolshevik, and it was a Navy town that was the first city to go very Bolshevik. It was a port city, so it was mariners. There was elements of the Navy that rebelled because they wanted money, and a lot of it was mostly because they were like, "Oh, we went Soviet, we went for you guys, but now where's our money?" Right, which is very similar to the American Rebellion when George Washington had to go put down a bunch of American Revolutionary War soldiers because they're like, "Okay, cool, we revolted against the British, and now pay us,"
Where's my money?
And where's my money? And I forgot what that rebellion was called that George Washington had to put down. It was in one of his first acts as president. One of the American history guys probably knows better than I do. But yeah, I think the Navy tends to be very much, the upper officer class tends to be very, very nobility, very wealthy. They tend, if you buy yourself a position in the military, which is how it used to work in almost all militaries up until the 20th century, you would buy yourself the whiskey. You're right, the Whiskey Rebellion, Matt.
Whiskey Rebellion, yeah, that would have been my guess.
You would buy yourself a position in the Admiralty, right? And the wealthiest, the most accomplished people would become admirals or captains of ships and stuff. And the life of in the army, in a ground element, right? The officers live almost in the same way that the enlisted guys live, in the field, in the mud, right? Your army officer in World War I lived right next to his sergeant, in the trenches, in the mud, in the gas, in the filth, right? Your officers in the Napoleonic Wars also froze to death in Russia next to their, conscripted or enlisted, privates or whatever, right? And they shot the same muskets, and their cavalry guys rode the same horses. They shared a life together, right? In the Navy, though, the life of an officer was a lot better. It was easy to be, in the upper decks, living in a officer, cabins. Meanwhile, your enlisted guys, your conscripted guys, down in a, in a coal room where they're shoveling coal into furnaces all day, every day, living in coal dust and smoke and filth, and that kind of stuff, in boiler rooms and all that shit, right? The difference between an enlisted and an officer in the Navy, specifically back in the day, is much, much different. I mean, I've never been on a Navy ship. Okay. I think I was on a destroyer like twice, right? For like a few days at a time, right? I'm sorry, guys. I'm a dirt sailor. I spent my entire life being a dirt sailor. Like even now in modern navies, the officers have the officer mess, and it's much nicer, and they have their own private cabins if they're like higher rank. Meanwhile, the enlisted guys,
living on a ship, it's a stratified society with the nobles up at the top and the working guys all down at the bottom.
Right. So when they're being abused and they're starving and they're like not eating and they're just got their asses whooped by the Japanese, I guarantee you a bunch of conscripted Russian soldiers are steaming back to, towards Russia and towards Odessa or wherever their home port is. And they're like, these guys are still eating above decks, and they're sitting there, scraping coal off the bottom of the ship. And, they try to make it home and plugging up holes in their ship. Of course, they're going to be the ones rebelling. That communism is attractive to the people at the bottom. Unfortunately for anti-communists, right? So I think that goes that the same kind of mindset probably applied to the Spanish Navy also, because they went Republican during the Spanish Civil War, and so that's interesting, and there's a reason why the German Navy, the National Socialist Navy of the German Nationalist Corporal State, which we don't talk about because we don't talk about that era on this podcast. They tend to be the most. They tend to be kind of the most liberal bunch, with the exception of the submariners, right? And that's what the Nazis tend to be known for, is their submarines. And why is that submariner service, or like the silent service, different?
Space for luxury.
There's
No
no
space for
space for
luxury.
luxury. Their
Yeah, nope.
officers live in the same way, right? That
Yeah,
the enlisted guys live on a submarine. If the damn thing goes down, they all go down. If there's no food, there is no food because they all sleep in cramped conditions. So I think that there's a level of when there's a level of class democracy or unity, you tend to have less rebellion, to be honest, right?
yeah,
In militaries, that is less mutiny, less less and that kind of stuff, which is why, like, if you spend any time in the military, you'll see things like officers and NCOs eat last, right? That's kind of a thing in the U.S. military. Like,
yeah,
whenever there's food handed out or you go to galleys or whatever, officers and enlisted eat last. They're the last ones off the ship. They're the last ones to take libo, and that kind of stuff, which is actually a good thing in my opinion, because leaders lead from the front and they take the burnt of the crappy work to themselves, and that's how you get people to be, to follow you, and that's important. It's kind of one of those, like, do as I do, not as I say, that type of thing.
yeah,
Because then if you do, if the guys trust you, then they'll trust you, when you do have to tell them something. I don't know, but that's I think basic leadership 101. Then a lot of these
yeah.
19th
No,
century.
yeah, I think you're right. Well, just like the name that's floating into my mind here is I'm thinking about Lord Nelson and the British Navy. I mean, that guy's going into the Battle of Trafalgar missing a goddamn arm.
Right.
And it's straight up, never mind the maneuvers, go straight at them. I mean, is there a more blue collar sentence in all of the English language? You just punch the guy in the face. Fuck
Right.
Right. So, and the guy, he's one of the most famous heroes in English history, and it's probably because he's right down there with everybody, like, rock and roll, let's go, boys.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and on our YouTube chat, American writer and essayist, he said, "Don't forget the German Revolution. Sailors rose up there first." Yes, absolutely. Right.
Missed that
Like I
comment.
said,
Good comment.
there is a trend where in navies, the navies tend to have the most kind of rebellion, and I think that, and like I said, I'm not a historian, but this is a theory, and I think it's a good theory. I think it's a strong theory, and I think it makes sense. All right, let me see what we got here. Horror movies. I want to talk about horror movies, right?
Okay.
There was an interesting thing about. I've been thinking about horror movies a lot because I've been watching a lot of horror movies with my daughter, and
Okay.
she turned 7, and we went through a list of movies. We watched Jaws and Terminator 2, Aliens. Man, we watched The Thing. We watched a bunch of stuff, right? And I always go, man, am I okay to let my daughter watch these movies? And I'm like, yeah, she's fine. She's got it. And she doesn't find them scary at all. I think the scariest one was Jaws because it had like a jump scare, but it scared me. I didn't expect that. I haven't seen Jaws since I think I was like 6 years old, and it scared me. But interesting enough, I was let me see. One of the first movies I saw as a little kid that I have like a memory of seeing when I moved to the United States, I had to be 6.5, almost 7, so younger than my daughter, was Poltergeist. And I saw Poltergeist. My mom let me watch Beetlejuice, Poltergeist, the Freddy Krueger movies, which are probably wholly inappropriate, but whatever. I saw Predator when I was like her age. And it made me think of something. I was listening to the Bret Easton Ellis podcast the other day, and he had a Spanish dude on there. I forgot his name, was like Chico something. He's a Spanish filmmaker, and he was saying that when he was growing up as a little kid in Spain in the 80s and in the 90s, he watched tons and tons of horror movies, stuff that we would consider inappropriate, like some of the ones I mentioned. And he said something that really stuck to me, because I feel like it was the same thing in my family, that horror movies in Spain at that time were considered kids' movies, right? And I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. The way my family always looked at horror movies was that, they're kids' movies, right? Because adults don't watch movies about like, freaking monsters and ghosts and stuff, right? They're ultimately fairy tales, right? Like
Yeah.
adults in my family, they watched like serious movies, stuff like I don't know, Doctor Zhivago or The Godfather. That was an adult movie that my mom was like, "Oh no, you
Right.
can't watch that until you're older." Uh, but horror movies with ghosts and shit, oh, it's a kids movie, dude. You can watch all that stuff, even though it has like murder and decapitation and disembowelment and stuff.
Yeah.
That's kid stuff. And I feel like a lot of like my Eastern European friends, their parents were the same and they were kind of the same, which makes sense because when you live under communism, ghosts ain't that scary, bro.
No.
KGB is scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like life is
The
scary.
ghosts are afraid of the KGB.
Right. Ghosts are not that scary. Somebody knocking on your door is scary, like that's scary, right? Like, and I used to think like what scared me as a little kid. And I always like to know, what were you afraid of as a little kid? And one of my biggest fear was this is gonna sound insane, right? As like my daughter's age, and she's 7, right? At that time, my biggest fear is social unrest. Like, does that make sense?
Social unrest, like riots?
Like riots, right?
That's a very Los Angeles answer. That's a very Los Angeles answer.
So I moved to the okay, so I was born in Eastern Europe. I was born in Romania in 1983, and I moved to the States when I was 6, and that's 1991, right? So I was like 6, about to turn 7, right? And for all its ills, communist Romania under Ceausescu, a dictator, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to tell you about that, right? But for all its ills, communist Romania was very safe, right? It was like, there's no crime, and like, you don't get robbed or you get murdered or, or nobody knows about it if you do, right? At least where I grew up in Bucharest, it was a very safe place. There was no drugs that we knew of and that kind of stuff, right? And we moved to Los Angeles, right? And we moved to Los Angeles, like, during the Rodney King riots. And I went from a safe, controlled Eastern European city to, ghetto birds flying every night. And I remember like
you moved to Satan's taint.
Right. Like how scary, like, I don't think people understand that, like, Los Angeles and like Los Angeles, Long Beach, that whole area in the 90s, man, it was like a Snoop Dogg video, like there's helicopters flying all night, with their searchlights chasing people down the freeway. You can hear like them like yelling and cussing people out like over the speakers, just sirens blaring constantly, nonstop. Like you're like, oh my god, like it's like a war zone. And we lived like in a middle class neighborhood, and like that was like right around the corner. It was North Long Beach ghetto, and there's drive-bys, and I was terrified. I was terrified of drive-bys and police helicopters, and I was terrified of like, then like the whole Los Angeles is burning because there's riots and stuff, and I was like, what the hell did we move to? Like what is this, right? Like what is this, right? Like, it's terrifying. I remember, right, back in 19, and when we first moved there, my mom, she's used to Eastern Europe, right? In Eastern Europe, you take the bus places, right? So big mistake number one, like, oh, let's take the bus. It's America, the greatest country in the world. We just moved here, taking the bus, and you don't take the fucking bus in like Los Angeles, guys. I don't know if you guys know this, right? All right, like you don't take the bus, okay? Unless you're like, the bus is just like a crackhead mover, right? Like it's just like a place where crackheads take a nap for 25 cents or 50 cents or whatever, okay? And take the bus downtown, because in Europe you go downtown because that's where the life is, right? That's where the center of the city is. Oh no, you don't go downtown in Los Angeles, okay? That's where Skid Row is. And we went downtown Long Beach, and at that time downtown Long Beach was Death Row Records, chain link fences, pit bulls roaming the streets, the Long Beach Mall, the Long Beach Mall, which featured in many a Tupac video, drive-by shootings during plain daylight. Oh, my dogs are barking.
Speaking of which, there's your Rottweiler.
Yeah, I know, just Snoop Dogging, people graffitiing people's lawns. Like, who graffitis a lawn, man? You know what I mean? You're gonna graffiti some dude's lawn, right? Like the grass. Like, what the grass did to you? You gotta tag up a
You
grass.
spray
You know,
painted the grass. You spray painted the
spray
grass,
painted the
sir. What's
grass.
wrong
You know,
with
so
you?
we go to North Long Beach Mall. I mean, that's the downtown Long Beach Mall, which doesn't exist. It was cursed. They tore that shit down many years ago, right? And they rebuilt it. It's like now a nice neighborhood. They gentrified the shit out of it back in the 2000s. But you go down there, and we're like, my mom's like, "Oh my god, this sucks. I can go back to communism."
Yeah.
It's like, ugh,
Like,
ugh.
well, Comrade Stalin, I'm coming home.
And there was like we go look around and stuff, and then we go back home, and my mom tells like some acquaintances like, "Oh, we went down to the Long Beach Mall," and they're like, "What the fuck? Don't ever go down there again." I'm like, "You want to die? You want to die?"
It's kind of funny to me, like the juxtaposition of the chaos of Los Angeles and how you never know when death and slaughter will come for you. And then in Romania, it's like it's just a rap, like 4 a.m. knock on the door. Well, it's been nice knowing all y'all. I'm gonna go talk to the man outside.
It's
You know,
just
at least it was like
less
ordered,
chaos.
like yeah, it was polite and quiet, and not the
Right.
not
So
the
that's what
screaming
I was afraid of.
banshee of Los Angeles.
I was afraid of riots, and I was afraid that riots are going to burn down my house and my stuff. That was my greatest fear. Okay, I was afraid of fire.
Nope.
Right, because Americans, I don't know if you guys know this, you guys have this weird obsession with fire alarms and like everywhere that always go off. And I I was terrified. I thought that fire was going to destroy my house, and I was gonna, I wasn't even gonna die. I thought I was just gonna burn all my stuff, and I was gonna have to live at the Long Beach Mall, or on the bus. So that was my fear growing up. What was your fear? Did you have a fear?
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it long and hard. Because I had a pretty calm childhood. Just typical suburban Cleveland. Like nothing bad ever happens. It's just real straightforward. For me, two things stand out in my mind. Thunderstorms. We actually had at one point a major tornado rip through our backyard, and it shredded a couple of trees, and I guess it went right past our back porch. And I remember when I was a kid being really kind of like when the wind was blowing in that particular way, and you couldn't see, and then there'd be like a flash of lightning, and it'd just be. I think when I was a little kid, that probably scared me. Although I kind of got used to it and I kind of got over it. Also, when you survive one tornado, it's like, okay, well, whatever. They're not that big of a deal, right? And it's not
No,
like
no,
those are.
no. They're terrifying. Stop. They're
Well, it's not like
terrifying.
no, but I mean, it's not like the plains. You know what I mean? Like in Ohio, like you don't get tornadoes are not a common thing. So it's not like in Kansas or like Oklahoma or something where it's like that shit's for real. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think for me, what really scared me was as a kid was I think being left alone, like when I wasn't supposed to be, or in like an isolating situation. Like I have these memories of standing out in the woods and feeling like we used to ski a lot. My parents would take me skiing, and we go cross country skiing. And I have these memories of not knowing where my parents were or not knowing where my family was, and feeling like that isolation coupled with cold and just that sense of I'm alone. I don't know where I am. I don't know how to get home, and it's cold. I think that scared me. That was something I was scared of. I don't know if
Right.
that necessarily makes sense, but
No, it makes
and then
perfect
whenever I've
sense.
been in cold places, so like if no one's been to the Great Lakes, I highly recommend doing so in the depth of winter, because when like you go to the Lake Erie and you look across the lake and it's frozen, it's a hellscape. It is an icy hellscape because all the waves and everything freezes, and it's just this nice, calm, peaceful lake looks like a nightmare out of some foreign, you're on another planet somewhere. So like looking out across that and looking at that going, man, there's nothing but death out there. Like you see people walking out there and it's like, are you fucking crazy? No, get off the ice, man. What are you doing? So it's that kind of sense. And then I have another very strong memory. It's not fear, but back in college, we went to go see a concert up in Canada. We were driving home, and we passed through Niagara Falls. If you ever get a chance, folks, Niagara Falls in the depth of winter at night, whew, it's something else. I mean, everybody knows Niagara Falls, the big waterfall, and it's a big festival atmosphere, right? Not at 2 a.m. in the depth of February. The lights are off. There's nobody there. Everything's covered in ice, and then there's just this roar in the black. It's very cool. I remember looking out over the river.
Never seen it.
Oh man, I remember looking out over the Niagara Falls are huge, dude. Like they're just so loud. It's great. You ever get a chance to go up there, do it. Perfect thing for your kid. But seeing the river, I mean, it's fast. It's water shouldn't move that quick. You're like, oh God. And it's flowing and it's dark and it's loud. And then there's that ice, like the kind of ice that just pierces straight through your clothes, right to your skin. And you can just kind of feel your muscles. You just feel your muscles starting to slow down. You know what I mean? So I think those depths make
I've been to the Great Lakes, actually. Does Chicago count? Great Lakes, right? That's Lake Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Lake Michigan, baby. Absolutely, sir. Chicago's cold.
Chicago is the coldest.
Chicago.
I was in Chicago in 2008 for a few months.
That shit ain't playing, man. That shit ain't playing.
That is the coldest place I've ever been to. Yeah. I had to wear, my California ass. I had to wear thermal underwear, both tops and bottoms, tucked into my Doc Martens, like under my jeans, under my like hoodie, under my like big ass like one of those like military surplus like military jackets. Man, I was freezing in that place, and I had I thought I was gonna die one day because what I used to do, I was young, I was 25, and I used to just kind of like just explore the city on my own. Just I'd leave my friend's house and I would just go a wandering, I hit the there's a Miracle Mile, and there used to be a big Apple store there. I don't know if it's still there. And there was the Evanston area, which was where Home Alone was filmed. And I would just check out all the different places, and just there was a bunch of like Borders books that were really cool. Maybe it was a Barnes and Noble, I don't remember. But I used to go all over the town, at least the north side of Chicago. And one time I went out, and it was in the middle. It was snowing, and I was like, "This is cool," because I lived in Southern California most of my life, so I don't really get to see snow that often unless we went out to like a cabin or something in the mountains. And I'm living and walking through this beautiful city in the middle of the snowstorm. And the snowfall turned into like a snowstorm. And quickly, it was like noon and it was dark. It looked like nighttime outside. It was that much snow, right? But it was like noon by my watch. And it was so cold, and there's nobody on the streets. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to freaking die, because I was so disoriented. Because we're talking about feet of snow covering the whole city, right? And I was the only person out there, and I had no idea where the hell I was, right? Like, oh my God, I am going to freeze to death in this motherfucker in the middle of the day. And I'm walking around, and I finally see a cab, and I get in the cab, and I'm like, oh, take me to the train station. And my wife just brought me a Protestant chicken.
Nice.
Excellent. Some Chick-fil-A. Yeah. And I got the cabbie to give me a ride to the main train station, Ogilvie Station in downtown. And I was like a block away, but I was so disoriented that I had no idea where I was. And I was like, oh man, dude, I thought I was going to like die. So I ended up taking the train north up towards Evanston, and finally got oriented. But yeah, that snow is terrifying. You know what else is terrifying? What's ocean. That? The ocean at night. You ever like sit on the beach? Like I remember I would sit on the beach on the Pacific and just kind of look out, and it's just like endless and just dark. Yeah. And you're just like, oh man, there's stuff underneath that water, like scary.
When I was living on the East Coast of Florida, I'd go down. I lived in for a while. I lived in like this. It's just like one of those beachside towns that has like the pier and the restaurants and the walk. It's those dime a dozen places all the way up the coast, right? I was living in one of those towns, and they had this big pier that you go all the way out. It was like it'd go out like a quarter of the mile out into the ocean. It was always nice to walk that late at night, but sometimes I'd go out, when it was dark and just the moon was out. The Atlantic Ocean, man, that's a thing.
I wonder which one's scarier. I think the Pacific's scarier.
I mean, what would make it scarier? That's the thing. Why would it be scarier over the other one?
It's bigger.
Just because bigger, you just know it's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, last year I had some fun. When we did the Age of Exploration, we were talking about Ferdinand Magellan. Imagine being those motherfuckers, making your way across the Pacific Ocean for the first time under that canopy of stars. Like, would you feel lucky, or would you feel like, oh, I'm fucked? I'm so fucked. Some massive monster's about to eat my soul. Or would you just be sitting there going, man, I'm the luckiest guy on earth right now?
I think a little bit of both. And that's like the masculine. I think that's the masculine urge, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of both, right?
Yeah. It took months to get across the Pacific Ocean. That's what's interesting to me. And they just did it, man.
They kept at it. They're just like, we're gonna go. We're gonna keep going. Yeah. That's wild when you think about it. These guys during the Age of Exploration, they would just get on these rinky-dinky ass ships and just go for it.
You know, I think the deep forests of the world would be scarier to me than the ocean. Because I'm thinking about like when I was living up in Maine and I was living up in New Hampshire, I had some opportunities to get up. I love Jason. Great. You could just do things like cross the Pacific in a sailboat. Correct.
Yeah. That's true.
But like when you get, or like when I camped in Canada growing up, we get up like, you know, the kind of place where it's a 12-hour drive north, and then, you know, you're taking a 45-minute boat ride to the cabin, and don't break a leg because you're dying. You know, it's one of those kinds of things. Like, you're way out there. I think the woods would probably be more terrifying to me than the ocean, because like nothing's coming up out of the Atlantic Ocean, right? I could sit there on the beach all day, ain't nothing gonna crawl up and come at me. But in the woods, I mean, it's all behind the trees, man.
Yeah,
like it all sees. There's stuff living there, right?
Yeah, the first time I see like one of those like little like dream catcher made of bird bones and shit, like a True Detective, like hanging from a tree, I'm like, I'm out, bro. What's that crazy ass horror movie, Bone Tomahawk, with those cannibal ass Native Americans? Oh yeah, I'm out.
I'm out.
I mean, did I ever tell you the story about one of my first camping experiences?
No, go ahead.
Because I grew up in the Los Angeles. Okay, I'm a city boy. If you guys can't tell, right? I'm a cosmopolitan individual. And one day, my friends are like, "Hey, let's go camping." And my girlfriend at the time was like, "Yeah, it's a great idea. Let's all go camping." So the next day we packed all our stuff and we went camping up in the California mountains. And we get there, and we get a little campsite, and there's no fires allowed. We didn't know this, right? Because this is before like everybody had internet on their phones and stuff. It was like, fire season. There's been wildfires. No, California, no fires allowed, right? Kind of like what's going on in Canada right now, but like 10 times worse.
Right.
Oh no, 10 times worse in Canada. In California, it's like a regular thing because California likes to burn all the time. Anyway, so we're sitting there.
Canada, they'll send you the gulag for lighting a fire.
So I'm looking across this campsite area, and like on a picnic table, like pretty far away, there's a fucking bear, right? And I'm like, oh, there's a fucking bear. Oh my god, like, what am I gonna do? There's a bear, like it's big. You're like, okay, this is a big ass bear, like just doing something, right? And this ranger rolls up, and he's like, oh, I forgot to mention I was actually smoking weed and I was high, right? And so this ranger rolls up, and he's like, oh, no, it's no big deal, man. It's just like if that one comes by, just rush at it and it'll run away, just like this. And he like rushes the bear, and the bear is like, peace, bro, and like just runs up into the forest, right? And I'm like, he goes, but yeah, but if you see the big one with the white streak, don't do that to it, okay? Because it's gonna
that one would kill you.
You're right. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm like terrified, right? I'm like, bro. So the ranger leaves, and he's like, yeah, I'm not on duty until tomorrow morning. So if you see the bears, just rush at them, okay?
Whoa, wait. This dude's not on duty. He's just like, hey, I'm going to freak out this kid. Watch this.
Right. So I'm not a kid. I'm like 19 years old. Okay. I'm not like, and we're all our friends. So we sit there and we we do a campfire with like a flashlight, like a little like lantern and stuff. And we're all just, chiefing on the devil's weed. Right. And,
Yeah.
dude, I don't like smoking weed. Never have it. I don't know what it was about it. It always made me like paranoid and, just not, it did. My brain is not built for it. Okay. So of course I smoked it and I just got paranoid. Right. And I'm sitting there and it is pitch black. All I can see is like the woods and I'm hearing all these things moving in the forest. And I got this image of this bear and I'm just like, I'm sitting there like sweating. It's like, I'm looking like Blair Witch Project, bro. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this bear with the gray, it's going to come out any minute now. It's going to fucking kill me. Right. So we go to bed in like our tents and I hear him all night just like walking through the woods. And like, I swear I felt it like brush against the tent. I knew it was in the camp. I had the worst night of sleep. Like to this day, like 25 years later, I can still remember this horrible night. I did sleep for like an hour and I had a dream and I dreamt of like freeway interchanges and traffic jams. Dude, I was like, oh, paradise. I'm going to go back to the city, the traffic, But yeah.
How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet it was just the ranger walking around outside?
No, I think the bear actually did come to the camp.
Oh yeah,
the next morning, yeah. And I was like, dude, I'm never going camping again, man. I'm so.
That reminds me of a story.
I like
so when I was in college, I did this mission thing out in Colorado. This is when I first fell in love with Colorado. I went out to. That's a good question from Jason. We'll have to get to that next.
That was the point of our conversation, and we got distracted. But yeah, we'll get.
It's fine. We're just talking about nature, man. We're just vibing out, talking about bears and nature. But no, I was out in Colorado, and it was like a mission thing. But we had this opportunity to go tramp through a national park. It was in the middle of the winter, and we were climbing up and we're camping around or whatever it is we were doing. And at one point, I'm like, earlier you mentioned the masculine urge. And it's the masculine urge to jump into the unknown because I literally leapt off this rock into a snowbank and it was great. Like I just landed in a giant pillow, right? And the ranger looks at me, he's like, you shouldn't do that because you didn't know that snow was going to be all right. And I'm like way out in the middle of nowhere, where if I break my legs, like, and there he shall be buried. Like that's the situation. I didn't think that. I was like, I'm on a rock. That looks like fun. Off I go. That was the long and the short of it. And maybe that's part of it is like the masculine urge to leap, the masculine urge to go, let's see what that's about.
Right.
Well, Jason's question, what about horror though? Can there be a purpose to the unsettlement it gives you?
Okay.
I'd like to say more what he means about like purpose, but I think it is just the realization, at least with the stories we're sharing about being out, out in the world. You look at, some of the sites and it's like, oh shit, I'm small. Holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing to recognize and a good thing to feel. And it's a thing that any grown adult must, especially a man, must come to grips with. You have to look out across the breadth of creation and go, fuck, this shit'll kill me. And then still choose to go forward anyway,
Right. So I think what this is going off of Jason's several back and forths over on Substack. I think it was today, and I kind of replied to it.
I must have missed it.
And let me see if I can find these posts because they were actually really good. And they're about horror, and it was like, what's the meaning of horror? And how Jason on his post said, I like horror a lot. I think it may be the only genre left which can consistently produce good movies, which is true. That said, or profitable movies, not just good, but profitable. That's actually a key, right? That said, a good friend of mine brought up a question recently that made me think about it. A good horror movie unsettles the mind and spirit. Its purpose is to disturb and unsettle you. Hereditary is likely the best horror movie of the past decade precisely because of how incredibly deeply disturbing it is, to the point I'll probably never watch it again despite how excellently made it was. If our aspiration is to have clear, settled, peaceful, or undisturbed mind and spirit, my friend asked, he is Orthodox, isn't horror inherently counterproductive to that? To me, that brings up a few questions. Can there be a higher purpose to the disturbance to your mind brought about by horror? Is it redeemable if it brings about a higher, more secure state of calm after you go through the disturbance? Can it even do such a thing? Is it the case that some kinds of horror can do this and others can't? All right. And then he asked, is this just a cope from a guy who wants to watch scary movies? Now, I think first off, we have to look at what is horror, right? What is horror and where does it come from? And in a way, when you think about it, horror comes directly out of fairy tales. If you think of every fairy tale like that you kind of grew up in, Little Red Riding Hood, that kind of stuff, that's all horror, right? Like it's about a girl walking around in the woods, and she's taking food to her grandma, and she gets eaten by a wolf, right? That's horror, right? Almost all the fairy tales have an element of horror to it. Horror itself, it's become literally a subgenre or a genre of writing, but I don't think it's truly its own genre. Like now, I guess it is in the movies and like book side, because there's like elements of horror that like all horror things like Stephen King and stuff share. But realistically, I feel that horror is something you put onto something, right? Like what is a book like It, right? Or Stranger Things, the television show, which I think it's a pretty good horror show for, like being PG-13 for Netflix. They're actually coming of age stories, right? They're stories about life and disappointment and failure. That's what It is really about, right? The horror element is like, in a way, what's scarier about It, right? The fact that there's a alien clown spider that you defeat through having a weird sex scene, right? Or is it the fact that that main character grew up to become a loser? You know what I mean? And like that, like life is banal, right? In a way, it like plays with you, tricks you, because it makes you feel that like having to fight the alien clown is actually more exciting than their lives ended up.
Yeah, that was the highlight of their lives.
Right.
It was all downhill from there.
Right. It was all downhill from there. And that's where they returned back to Gary, Indiana, wherever, it's like Maine, wherever they're at, right? Like it's where all Stephen King stuff takes part in. I forgot what the name of the city is that all Stephen King stuff is in. But ultimately, right, I think horror is the most conservative of the genres, right? In a way, because it deals with like reality, like the world out there is dark and scary, and horror tends to punish breaking away from the norm, right? Like slasher movies are very much like always criticized for like the final girl thing, right? Where there's always they're punishing the slutty teenagers that are making out by the lake at the summer camp, or they're it's punishing sexual kind of adventurism and killing teenagers, right? You have I mean the movie It Follows, right, was basically an allegory for that, right? For STIs and that kind of punishment. For sin, right?
You get murdered. You get murdered in a horrible way.
Exactly. So there is a very which is very much like fairy tales, right? Don't get lost in the woods or you'll get eaten by the wolf, right? Or don't take candy from strangers and go into their gingerbread house or you'll get eaten by the witch, like those are all like horror like staples, right? And then a lot of the movies we deal with, but they're also like like I said,
I was just thinking, sorry, no, I was laughing because I was thinking the one of my favorite horror movies, my all-time favorite horror movie is Alien, and I was thinking, don't go into space or the xenomorph will eat you.
Right. Don't bring alien eggs, and
don't poke the thing, it'll kill you.
Don't poke the thing, it will impregnate you and then pop out of your chest and destroy the whole crew, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's like it's actually like the whole thing was Ripley's fault because she like let that dude in,
Yeah.
Right.
Don't be compassionate, or the thing will kill everyone.
Yeah, just don't go to space, man. If movies teach us anything, space bad. There's nothing
Yeah.
good out
Space,
there, you know.
disease, and darkness.
Yeah, don't go to space and then don't go to the bottom of the ocean. They're both bad. Just
Yeah.
stay
Yes.
on
Yeah.
land.
Yeah. Stay away from those places.
Yeah, but I mean, horror ultimately is an emotion that, like, I think it helps us, and why it ultimately is a kid's genre because it teaches children. It's fairy tales, right? It teaches us
Yeah.
there is bad, scary things out there, right? Like, because they are. I mean, ultimately, what is Freddy Krueger? Well, he's a molesting rapist, right? He's a child molester, right? That's what he is. He's the creepy
Yeah.
guy that lives in the boiler room of your apartment building that molests children. That's what he is, and he's gonna get your ass if you're unguarded. You know, that's what you get. Like, if you do that. So in a way, it's a very conservative kind of genre. Uh, that's why, like, I don't know. Stephen King is interesting because I don't really love Stephen King books, but he did have some bangers in his early days. I don't know, during the
Yeah.
cocaine era or somewhere along those lines. Um, but yeah, like, and the movies work. The movies work because ultimately it's the only genre of movies that still works because it's true. Remember, like, art itself works when it's true. And it's very hard to lie in horror in a way, right? Like,
Yeah. If
it's
you lie, it's
hard.
not horror.
Exactly. It's very hard,
Yeah.
like, to bullshit horror. So because of that, it tends to always ring true. Like, deep down, it's like it taps into that, like, deep reptile brain of our consciousness, right? Where, like, ooh, scary shit bad, and we're supposed to avoid stuff. So does it have a redeeming quality? Well, I mean, yes, in the same way I think that all things have redeeming qualities, right? Like, you look at churches, there's a lot of, like, very morbid kind of dark things in churches. Like,
Yeah.
do we some of them are very unsettling. You've got ossuaries and a lot of, like, kind of dark, scary imagery, and
Gothic. Yeah.
yeah, like icons of the saints holding their heads, and there's the icon, the one where like the what do you call it? Like Revelation, where there's like a dragon and he's eating all those souls burning in hell and stuff, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. There's a lot of scary stuff, right? In
Yeah. Well, with what you're describing, it's constantly making me think of Genesis, and it's you've been cast out from the garden and you're doomed to die. So
right,
watching horror films reminds you of this in a very visceral way. It's also a good way to teach the children's don't transgress the rules, because bad things will happen to you.
right,
I'm also trying to think to myself, like as you're describing, the churches and the ossuaries. I thought of those instantly. I mean, that stuff is metal as hell. First off,
right,
but I'm thinking about what a progressive horror film would look like. And the problem with progressives, actually, a progressive horror film would just be like a film about just normal white suburbia and everything's fine and everything's beautiful. Like,
right,
because I'm like, the whole point of progressive ideology is to transgress everything possible. And
right.
if you aren't punished for transgressing, it can't be a horror film. It's no longer a horror film. It's
Right.
just whatever it is.
Well, my theory is that the one, like, subgenre of horror that is very progressive is body horror, right?
Oh,
Where
ugh,
the body where the body of the
yeah,
characters revolts against. um Clive Barker does a lot of this kind of stuff, right? And or what was it? I think it's Clive Barker, right? He's like a kind of a lefty kind of gay writer, right? Um, and you see a lot of, like, transgender writers, right? Like, body horror type stuff, and it makes sense because ultimately what those kind of people are is they're afraid of their bodies, like. To a trans male, right? To a trans male to female, the scariest thing in the world is aging, because you ain't hiding the fact that you're a dude when you get older. You know what I mean? You might be able to push it off for a long time, but eventually you're gonna grow hair on your hands, homie. You know what I mean? And you're gonna have to
yeah,
work real hard to keep it, right? Age in your own body becoming things is something that, like, is very progressive, like this fear of aging, this fear of, like because progressivism is ultimately a childish kind of mindset. So there's a fear of aging. It's like a Peter Pan kind of syndrome. It's a fear of their body being male or their body being female.
Or their body being an adult,
or their body being human, and that's like an interesting kind of thing in kind of like a lefty kind of like horror fiction. There's a lot of body elements or bodies doing body things or bodies being gross or weird. That tends to be
right?
like a very like theme in a lot of stuff. And there is elements of horror that it makes sense from a like a just a generic way, like no politics or no political leanings involved at all. That makes
Right.
like, for example, like I think that if I'm not a woman, right? I'm not a female, but I can see myself as I guess I can project my empathy on, and use my brain to kind of imagine that if I was a preteen girl and I was approaching puberty, that's got to be terrifying.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
That has to be one of the most
yeah,
terrifying things that any human goes through,
yeah.
because it's a truly like scary kind of thing. In a way, uh, women have a built-in ritual of a maturity, right? Like it's a biological rite of passage that
Signature.
men
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have.
Biological signature. Yep.
Right, men don't have. So men need an artificial like cultural rites of passage, but women have a biological rite of passage that is terrifying. Like their body changes, like they're one day they have breasts and they're bleeding once a month, and that's terrifying. Okay, that is like something that I can see why so much ink has been spilled over the centuries about that topic, right? And there's a lot of
Yeah.
like shame and the fear around it. So yeah, horror I think is important, right? It's important because it allows us to explore these feelings in a safe way, right? Whether it's the depths of
Hmm.
space or the ideas of being alone, and by doing that, it allows, I mean, that's what great art does, right? Great art allows us
Yeah.
to experience things and explore things in an, using our intellect and our imagination and our empathy, right? Where we learn to empathize with characters, like, oh, what would I do if I was in this situation? There's certain horror books or movies or novels that I actually just avoid, right? Like, I don't like the oceans and ice, right? And there's Dan Simmons wrote The Terror, which is about the ship HMS Terror and being stuck out in the Arctic. And I guess in a horror novel, it's being stalked by some kind of Yeti monster or something, and they're starving to death. And I don't like anything where I'm starving to death out in some crazy world,
Right.
But look how horror and science fiction, which are very similar, horror and science fiction are like they're like the same coin, right? They're different faces of the same
Yeah.
coin. But
Yeah.
look at how horror and like what we get horror wise, right? You have zombies. Zombies are an interesting cultural element, right?
Mm.
Like, and then we have robots and scary aliens that like were an element that's kind of faded away now. But for a while, like those were the monsters that we were afraid of. We're afraid of aliens and nuclear monstrosities, and then now we're afraid of zombies. And then it's cliche to even discuss the zombie thing and the meanings of zombies, right? you
Yeah.
know
No, I was thinking recently. I want to say last year we watched Night of the Living Dead, the old school Romero original zombie flick.
the black and white one
Man, yeah, man, is it good?
with the
It's
black
so
dude, right?
good.
With the black dude that gets killed at the
Oh,
end.
yep,
Oh,
absolutely. And I
spoiler,
mean,
I'm
that's
sorry.
spoilers, guys. But no, that's the real horror is that dude does everything right. That guy crushes it. Like out of anybody that deserved to live, it was him. And he gets whacked in friendly fire. She's like, son of a bitch. But that's how it is. That's how it would be. That's what makes it work.
Right.
And then I was thinking too. So we just started rewatching. Did you ever watch the Fallout miniseries that they did on Amazon? I think it's on Amazon.
No,
But
no, I've
the
never
Fallout
watched it.
computer games, right?
Yeah, but I've never seen the show.
Fallout,
Yeah.
yeah, Yeah. Well, horror is a big part of the Fallout universe, and they bring in kind of the campy comedy, and like it's a real kind of like what's that one show? Tales from the Crypt kind of vibe. You know what I mean? It's more meant to make you laugh in a lot of ways. But at least watch the first episode of the first season because they do the whole Great War, and Goggins is in it. What's that guy's first name? He's like an actor. He's everywhere now. But he plays one of the main characters, and he's at a birthday party where he's playing a cowboy for his daughter, and he shares with his daughter. So like the thumb, the old thumb trick with nuclear weapons, like if the mushroom cloud is bigger than your thumb, run, you know? And
Right.
there's this great scene. So they're at the party and he shares this with his daughter and everything like that. And then at one point you see they're taking pictures, right? And there's flashes of the pictures, and then the daughter's looking out the window and there's a big flash that's clearly not from a camera. And you see her, she holds her thumb up, and then her eyes go blank. And then her dad, and then she, her dad's not looking at it. She pulls on her dad and she goes, "Daddy, did you mean my thumb or your thumb?" And he turns around, and it's like you see downtown Los Angeles, and it's just this massive mushroom cloud is beginning to develop. And it's like that moment of horror. It's perfect. One of the best, like, can you imagine being the motherfucker that sees that?
Right.
The aftermath, and as it and just the realization of, oh no, like it's the end of everything, baby. Like here it comes.
Right.
So like that kind of horror. And we got to bring up our obligatory David Lynch reference, right? Got a light. That shit
right.
scary, dude. That shit was
Right.
Oh my god, all of that. Like that's the shit that makes my skin crawl. Like the couple that they kill at the beginning of the return, like the creature that just comes out and murders them. It's like, what the fuck? Ah! And it murders them during sex. They transgress and they get murdered.
It's always like that, right? It's always during the intimate, like,
but anyway,
you leave your guard down. In Terminator 2, I saw Terminator 2 when it came out back in like 92 or 3 or 4 or whatever, right? And the one scene that's burnt into my mind was the Sarah Connor looking at the chain, holding the chain link fence and seeing the nuclear blast, right? That was probably the greatest scene in the greatest visual scene in that movie. You're like, oh man, like, and I remember
that's
terrifying.
one of the classic. That's whole scene, that whole dream, I think is one of the greatest classic images in film. Period.
Right.
Because it just everything about that kind of event would be just that. I'm dead, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's it.
And
all right.
When I watch movies with my daughter, like especially more adult movies like that, right? I always like stop and I stopped the movie. I for that one we stopped the movie and we talked about it afterwards because I thought it was a little bit scary. I thought it was like the robots aren't scary and shit's not scary, but that was a little bit scary, right? Because so we talked about it, and I was that was a moment for us to discuss, like, humans do fucked up shit to each other, and we've built weapons, and this is a movie, but we've done that in real life, like we did that to people, and we have those weapons right now that can do that to people, and that's scary when you think about it, right? It's scary to know.
That suspense is what gets me. Because like in the Fallout example, what makes that so good is what they saw, what the characters are reacting to, and your own imagination is what makes it horrible. And then when they cut to it and you actually see it, and it kind of it matches what your imagination is imagining, like that's when it's just, there's a bit of artistry in there that I really, really enjoy, like in that kind of thing. And like the Sarah Connor scene in Terminator is the same kind of thing. Like they let you, they string you along a little bit, and then whoop, it's a carnival barker is what it is. Like it's an entertaining thing. It's like, all right, you brought me down the path, and you gave me, and there's a payoff. It's horrible, but there's a payoff. There's kind of an emotional. It's.
What's your favorite horror movie?
I'd absolutely have to say Alien.
Alien,
and I know, and I know it's a little sci-fi. Yeah, the first one. For me, what I loved about it is it kind of subverts subverts itself a little bit, because when they, after the chestburster scene and all that stuff, that famous thing, and the actors were legitimately not told what was going to happen, and it's just great shit.
Right.
And then the alien starts running around whacking the crew. Like, they telegraph all of that so, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that guy's going to get it. Now this guy's going to get it. Now this guy's going to get it. Now this guy's going to get it. And then the last 20 minutes of Ripley running around the ship trying to save that damn cat. That's when they don't telegraph it, until she gets in the pod. And when you see her leg and she starts slipping out of the suit and she's desperately trying not to make a sound, that's the fucking moment right there. That's when I was like, this is fucking amazing. This is perfect. Because the damn thing's sitting right there, right? And and it's literally a virtually naked woman trying to not make a sound. And it was
terrifying, right?
And and it was perfect, because it just, all of it, it's like they make you feel safe, that, oh, it's jump scares, and this is fun, fuck. And when she goes back to get the cat, that's when it just turns it to 11.
Right. She makes mistakes,
And you're just like, son of a bitch, no, leave the fucking cat, who cares? And then all of a sudden it grabs you by the collar and just shakes the shit out of you. I love it.
It's her humanity that's a weakness, what's interesting with my daughter. So because of the pop culture immersion of the world, my daughter was not scared or shocked by anything of the aliens, right? When I was a little kid and I saw that, I was like, holy fuck, I'm terrified. I had dreams about the damn thing. I used to have a dream when I was like in this industrial place and the damn xenomorph was like chasing me all the time, right? Like, I remember like vividly to this day that I still have those xenomorph dreams, right? My daughter, though, she's like, stupid, Dad. I saw that in Fortnite, Like, I'm like, okay, shut up, But the part that got her actually was the cyborg, right? She did not see the cyborg coming.
Oh, nice. Yes.
That's what freaked her out. She's like, oh, I did not see that it was a traitor, Like, I didn't know that, she did not see that the betrayal of the cyborg and like the corporation of like the crew, right? That's what kind of caught her off guard completely. And I kept it on the down low. I was like, oh, you'll see, and that's the part that got her.
It's really interesting that she caught the conspiracy theory angle of it. The idea that the corporations they're not our friends. They're not here to take care of us. They're actually feeding us to the xenomorphs.
Right.
Especially in like a post-COVID situation. That's really interesting.
Absolutely. Like she was actually like very insightful on that, but she did not see that he was a cyborg, cool. Because he's if you look at it from like a kid's perspective, he's an authority figure, right? He's the doctor, right? He's the good guy,
Of course he's acting like that.
Yeah, right. And then he's a kind of a surpriser. He's truly the main bad guy of the movie when you really want to be honest about it, right? Yeah. It's not the xenomorph. The xenomorph is like
just doing what the xenomorph does. It's
right. It's interesting.
It's an animal. It's doing what it does.
For horror movies, I like The Exorcist, man. I think The Exorcist is peak. All right. I want to watch it with my daughter eventually. I think it's a little bit inappropriate for a kid right now. I don't think I saw it until I actually saw it, man. I saw The Exorcist. There was a midnight showing when I was like 20 or something like that. And we went to this midnight showing and then we saw it. It was like excellent. It was like the remastered high definition, like director's cut or whatever that came out. Like this is back in like 2005 or 6 maybe. And we saw the midnight show and it's like, 2 a.m. when I'm leaving and I'm walking to my car alone. I'm walking to my truck and there's like fog and I'm like, oh, dude, I just want to go home. I remember I hopped in my truck and I drove home. Now I live by myself in my little apartment and I'm just like, there's like fog everywhere. And I'm like, ooh, that one got me. I don't know why.
One of my other favorite, you're just reminding me of it, but I really enjoyed Hitchcock's Psycho. I thought that was
that's really a good one. Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit maybe I'm trying to think of the word, a bit hipster to maybe bring it up, but I remember being super entertained by that one. This is cool. This is just super cool.
All of Hitchcock is good. If you're a writer or filmmaker or anything, and you haven't watched all of Hitchcock's movies, then literally log off and go watch them. Absolutely, 100%. They're like
he's one of the greatest.
he's a master, you know. I liked oh, what's another good one? There's a lot of good. I mean, The Thing is good, but that comes off as more of an action movie. That's a good one.
Yeah,
My daughter was not afraid of like the alien turning into dogs and shit, but it's a good one because have you ever there's this like party game called Resistance, which is like you play this game and like it's like a party game with a bunch of people, and one of them, a few, like one or two of you is a betrayer, and you're trying to do these missions, but two of you are sabotaging, and you got to like figure out who the betrayer is. And we played that a lot, like on Thanksgiving when we have friends over. So
yeah,
my daughter is like all about like she understands like the whole like betrayer like element of the thing, and she's good at that, so she gets that. And I thought it was cool. It does. I think for a kid, there's that frustrating ending, but we appreciate the ending of not knowing who was the alien at the end. Right? Like
yeah,
that's like something
yeah,
that an adult, like somebody that's well read and has like somebody that like has a complexity of thought likes open-ended things. I like, for example, I like books, or like I like novels and movies and stuff that leave things up for like speculation. You're like, I like that. But some people hate that. Like the third season of True Detective, we were talking about that at work the other day, how it left open-ended if the main character actually knew that he found the girl or not. It was very open-ended. It doesn't tie it up. There's no hint whatsoever. Like, was it true? Was it not true? Was that her? Was she alive? Does he do anything about it? And I like that. I like those kind of like um you'll never know type of endings. But
yeah.
some people really hate those.
Yeah,
Like some
you'll
people
never
just,
know, and we're not going to tell you.
right, exactly. And like I'm never going to talk about it, kind of like Under the Silver Lake, you're like you're never going to know like what really happens, or was it real, was it true, was he just having a psychotic break. I like that. I like those kind of like, it leads to a lot of interesting conversation. But yeah, I like The Exorcist. I like there's this movie, somebody's gonna know it. It's a movie about like a mummy on a train. It's an old movie from like maybe the 70s or 80s. I
It's
guess
not
not
ringing
that
a
old.
bell.
And it's about like this movie where there's like they like bring this like sarcophagus on this train. It's like Victorian times, and they're transporting this train, and it starts like killing people. It's like, maybe it's a 50s movie, I don't know. Anyways, I have that seared into my brain. I think it's called like The
Uh,
Train or something, I don't know. Yeah, there's those kind of movies. I like horror. For horror novels, the novel I really like is Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. If you guys, it's basically it but better. It's like it but like, yeah, it's it but better. It's like a bunch of kids living in like somewhere like in your like part of like the world, right? Like not right now, but like where
yeah,
you grew up, right? It's like
right.
Ohio or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. Midwest.
Midwest in like the late 60s, mid 60s or late 50s. I can't remember, but they're all growing up, and there's like the smart kid, and there's like the fat kid who's also the smart kid, and the girl and that kind of stuff. Very it
Right.
like. It was written
Yep.
around the same time, but it's just really terrifying. I read it maybe 10
Oh,
years ago.
Jack with
It's
the Wind, Horror Express. Is that the movie you were talking about?
let me look that
Train
up
one?
real fast. Let me look that up. It was an old movie. Let's see. Yes, that's it. Horror Express. Yeah, with Peter.
Hey,
Yeah,
Gold
with
Star for
Christopher
Jack.
Lee. It's with Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. I think I saw that movie when I was 4 years old, and I've not seen it since. But it's stuck into my brain. I don't know why, because they bring this like crazy sarcophagus. They bring this crazy sarcophagus right into like uh into this train, right, and like they it follows like it like uh, I don't know, a bunch of murders start happening. There's like a scientist and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, Kojak is in it too. Yeah, man, I can't believe I remember this movie. It's like a movie that like, when you're a kid, sometimes you see something and it just sticks with you forever, right? And like it's there and you have no idea what the hell it was, but it's there. That's this
Something
movie
about
for
it.
me. It's this train
Yeah.
movie and this mummy type thing. It's like, I don't even think it's a mummy. It's some kind of a beast of some sort, but it's like Egyptian theme. I don't know. Right. So I think it's a mummy. But anyways, yeah, it's fucked up, and it terrified me as a kid. Like I had to be like 4 years old, man, and like it just stuck in my brain. But yeah, now before we call it, because we had a great thing. If you guys have any questions, please drop it in the chat. We'll answer any questions you have. I want to mention superheroes because we're talking about crappy media and everything, right?
I got one curveball real quick. I got one curveball I want to throw regarding horror films and horror, because it was coming up in my mind. But what about computer games for horror?
Oh, well, computer games are good. Of course, I've played your classics, Resident Evils, right? Those are Silent Hills are winners in there, right?
Yeah, I think they could be particularly effective because as a player, the survival of the character, the continuation of the story depends on your skill. One of the fun things about video games is that in a horror movie, like it's not like it ever stops and then quizzes you on the horror movie to continue. In a computer game, if you can't pass the section, you don't get to finish the game, right? It closes it off. So I think that increases the stakes in a horror sequence or in a horror game. Like my all-time favorite, it's not a horror game per se, but there's a horror section in it. In Half-Life 2, there's a section where you go to this place called Ravenholm, right? Your character is forced to travel there, but they do this cheap little trick where they strip you of all your weapons, and the only thing you have is like this gravity gun thing that can pick up stuff from the environment and shoot it at things. But that like cranks up the tension because you're being chased by zombies and there's all this crap coming at you, and you got to find like saw blades and washers and shit to like beat them all back with. And it does a great job of building that tension, with the game world and all. And that part always stuck out to me as just like, this is great horror.
That was
stuff right here.
Well, there's a lot of great horror type games right now on current generation stuff. I mean, I've been playing a lot of. I've mentioned this. I play a lot of what's it called? Oh my god, DayZ, which is that online game, survival game. And that's probably one of the most rarely does a game like make me sweat, but this game makes me sweat, man. Like because if you die, you lose everything. You just back to zero.
The stakes.
And right now, I have a character. He's sitting in the military base next to like a nuclear like gas area, and he's loaded, man. I've got like a semi-auto machine gun, like little, I've got like a big old 12 gauge shotgun with like tons of shells. I've got tons of 5.56 ammo. I've got all this cool like military gear. I've got like Russian camo and everything, a military helmet, and I am afraid. I'm afraid to log on because the second I log on and the second I step out,
you're gonna get clapped by a naked dude.
Some motherfucker is gonna straight up headshot me from like the forest line, and I know it, dude, because I look like a loot pinata, right? And I'm like, oh my god,
I look like a
I ran into a cow, right? I ran into a cow, and I freaking shot this cow, right? And I butchered it, and I have like a backpack full of like dried beef, right? I mean, this will last. In this game, food is so important because you starve to death so fast if you don't have food, right? And like you'll find cans, but you don't have a knife to open the can, so you'll starve as you're trying to bang a can with a block to eat it. But I have like beef. I'm like a barbecue restaurant worth of like I have like a full
Mongolian barbecue walking around.
I'm walking around freaking like Eastern Europe and and I know I'm gonna get capped, dude. I know some dude's gonna hit me with a Mosin Nagant like with a scope on it from like 50 freaking miles away, dude, and I'm gonna die, and somebody's gonna steal my meat, dude. And I'm gonna be so sad if I'm just not even playing that game anymore.
Listen, you gotta log in just to find out how it ends. Like just log in with the attitude of I'm gonna make somebody's day today.
Yeah,
I'm about to make somebody's day.
It's so tense that like I'm like, no, I'm not there. I'm not in the space. I'm not in the space to do this right now. I've been too busy at work. I'm too stressed out.
Listen. Just go baller. Just go full on for Frodo Aragorn and just charge the Black Gate.
Bro, I've got SMG mags. I've got a pistol. I got a 45 pistol with like 2 magazines. I got a compass. I have so much stuff. I know I'm
Listen,
gonna
you
get.
ape, you want to live forever? You want to go out in glory?
Yeah, dude. I just
Come
I
on.
don't want to log on. Like I need like an Ativan to like to play that game,
Oh,
dude. Like it
man.
stresses me out. So I've been playing
You want to
Rust.
stream it? You want to stream it on Substack next
Yeah,
week?
you know. Well,
We'll stream this.
so because because I'm a masochist, I've been playing Rust, which is like a post-apocalyptic game, right? Where you like also build stuff on an island, but
Yeah.
it has the most toxic like community ever, because you wake up on a beach with a rock and that's all you get. So you have to run into and build yourself a base, and then some
Yeah.
motherfucker comes and machine guns you, and then calls you the
Yeah. Of
hard
course.
the hard R word of power, and you're like fuck, and
That's classic gaming right there.
I'm sitting there like beating a rock against another rock, trying to get some supplies so I can build my shack to live in. And some dude comes and shotguns me in the face,
Just
and
drops a
then
nuke on you.
yeah, drops the N bomb on me and stuff, But me and my boys, we built a tower. I put some steel on it. It's well protected. We got some AKs in that bitch, right? But yeah, like we stole some fool's tugboat. We saw some fool like on his tugboat, so we shot him and stole his tugboat and stuff. It brings out the worst in people. There's no redeeming things to that game except that it teaches you that humans are evil people. Like it's just evil people. All right,
That's funny.
superheroes. Do you like superhero genre? What do you guys think in the chat? Do we like superheroes?
Oh, superhero. Oh boy. I gotta be careful with this because I feel like I'm gonna lose all my credits. It's not cool to like superheroes anymore, I think.
I'm
We're
gonna
talking
piss
about films or just like in general?
in general. I'm gonna piss everybody off because I hate
All right, do it.
superheroes.
Do
I
it.
hate superheroes.
Really?
I hate the whole genre. I hate it.
Oh,
I
damn.
hate it. All right. You have all these guys, all these stupid freaking nerdy retards, right? And they're all like, oh, they made Marvel and Batman or whatever woke. No, dude, it's always been woke, right? Superman's always been woke, right? Superheroes were always created by cosmopolitan Jews in New York City or Canada in the case of Superman, right? And the superhero was always the nerd fantasy, right? The superhero is the anti-cowboy. The American childhood imagination up until the superhero craze was the cowboy shooting fucking Indians, all right? The sheriff, right? The lone gunman, those guys, right? That was the American way. Gunsmoke and, the Lone Ranger. That was America, right? And then New Yorkers came up with the superhero because they were losers, like that old commercial, like, oh, where's that salsa from? New York City, remember that commercial? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the superhero is
New York City. Oh, classic.
Yeah, the superhero is the ultimate nerd's fantasy, right? Because it's some like loser like Spider-Man, like Peter Parker, that gets bit by like a magic spider that gives him magic powers. And now he's cool, right? And the jock is no longer like the jock goblin or the jock venom or whatever,
Yeah, they didn't.
But what happens in real life when you get bit by a radioactive spider, right? You get cancer and you die after you get cellulitis, you get flesh-eating radiation poisoning, right? But anyways,
yes, absolutely. 100% correct. No, I see what you mean. I mean, I'll be honest. I'll voice my shame, and then I'll try to redeem myself. I mean, growing up, I was into X-Men and stuff like that. Like, it was entertaining. It was fun. Mutants and stabbing people and blowing stuff up. Whatever. It's a good time, right? I definitely got on the Marvel train for a while, but once they wrapped up kind of the main Infinity arc, I was like, okay, that's enough of that stuff. That was fun. My all-time favorite comic, though, there's one superhero comic that I will defend to the death, and it's Preacher, only because they took Batman, turned him into a West Texas preacher who then just like kicks the ever-living shit out of everybody, and the Saint of Killers murders everybody, and I love it. So, I mean, I just love it because it's just fucking bonkers shit. But once I read Preacher, I was kind of like, I think I'm done with superheroes. That's good.
Right.
Like, for me, that was just peak madness,
Well, Preacher doesn't count as superhero. Okay? Like,
it doesn't.
That's a graphic novel. Comic books and graphic novels are different. Okay, all right. But I mean, I'm talking about like the Superman thing, right? Well, people go like, Marvel's gone woke. It's like Marvel's gone woke. Have you ever read the X-Men? The whole premise of the X-Men is the most woke shit imaginable, right? Like,
it prepped you for it. It psyoped you into woke.
You've got like the whole here's something that always bothered me about the X-Men when I was even as a little kid, right? When you think about it, and I never read all the comics. I read some of the comics, but the comics were too expensive when I was growing up, with all the special editions. But I watched a TV show in the 90s, which was pretty good, had that cool like theme song, and then Oh God, Rogue in the animated series in the '90s
Mm,
messed
break
me
me off
up.
a piece of that.
And
Break me off a
Mystique,
piece.
Rogue and Mystique, man, right?
Absolutely, 100%,
Um, right,
100%.
right. But I mean, you watch the
Cheap
show.
comment.
Right. You watch the show and I'm like, okay, wait a second. So the Sentinels are the bad guys because they want to control mutants because mutants are dangerous. And
Which they are.
which they are, right?
Super fucking dangerous.
Every episode there's some motherfucking mutant retard blowing up the
Murdering
city,
everybody.
murdering
Yeah.
everybody. You got
Yeah.
Magneto over here on some like
Ah,
weird
dude.
like weird like Holocaust like revenge fantasy going on, you
Yeah,
know. And
absolutely.
then you've got like the worst mutant, the one mutant I would like if I was in charge of any government, I would absolutely like, you know, headshot instantly and exterminate Professor X
You know,
and Jean Grey, right? You literally
oh,
got these.
done. You know,
You
it's funny.
got a dude that can read your mind and make you do stuff. Yeah, you're getting a bullet, bro. You're not safe for humanity, cripple motherfucker. And then Jean
Yeah,
Grey's even
wait.
worse because she's even more powerful than Professor X. And they've got like the worst, like oppressive, evil tool, Cerebrus, which can like see every thought everywhere. Yeah, we don't want that.
Right.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
weapon of
The ultimate
oh,
panopticon.
yeah, I would headshot the entirety of the X-Men just because of that. And then Jean
Wait,
Grey,
real
of
quick,
course, Dark Phoenix
real
herself.
quick. I just because I don't want to get too far past it, but I never realized this, but Magneto's basically the modern state of Israel.
Oh, right.
Right?
You
All
know, I
right.
mean, yeah. So there we go. Banned off of YouTube for sorry, guys.
Oh no, I didn't mean it. I mean, I meant no, fuck it. It's true. But
Yeah,
Magneto though, look, there's one good thing that happened with X-Men is I really enjoyed seeing Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen play Magneto and Professor X in the movies. That was okay. That was
cool.
that was kind of an inspired choice. But beyond that, it's fine. It's whatever. But that's only because I like.
I actually really liked Fossbender or whatever, Fossbender as Magneto in the Days of the Future
yeah,
Past.
Michael Fassbender.
He was really good as
I mean,
Magneto.
we got that fantastic meme out of it. So I mean, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, he looked cool on that, you know.
I mean, you were ranting about other stuff before. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, like you're like, okay, the Sentinels kind of make sense, bro. You know, like as a normal human, I'd want them to death camp all these Jubilees and Gambits and stuff. You know, like I don't want those dudes roaming around. Like you're like, oh look, mutants are our friends, and then Juggernaut comes and breaks your freaking house up and shit. You know,
it's hilarious. Like, Gambit. I mean, the guy literally turns everyday objects into C4.
Right. Yeah.
We're just cool with this. This is fine.
Yeah.
No,
we're all equal. We're all equal, guys. We're gonna live together. No, I can't live with that. I'm sorry,
Rogue supremacy. Arthur's right. Rogue can stay. Rogue supremacy.
Yeah, Rogue can stay, but even then, Rogue literally, you know, sucked the life out of Miss Marvel and sucked her essence and juice and stuff, you know, and then she kills you if she touches you, right? Like,
but look, with Rogue though, if you kill all the mutants, Rogue can stay because then she doesn't have any powers to absorb. See, the perfect loophole. Perfect loophole.
I don't know, but yeah, people can't say that like the Marvel's gonna go woke, bro. It's been woke since the very beginning, you know. Like, let's just be honest.
You've been bamboozled. You've been bamboozled.
Because superheroes were the anti cowboy, right? They're like the cosmopolitan city version of the cowboy. And that's what they replaced. I mean, Superman. I mean, come on, dude's an immigrant, right? Like he's an alien immigrant. He's an illegal immigrant. He just crashed on Earth and got like
he's an illegal immigrant, but he at least assimilated properly.
No, but you know what's the worst thing about Superman? Not the fact that he's an illegal immigrant, is that he's a journalist.
Well, back in the day, that was like still a thing. These days, it's like, journalist. Now he's just a propagandist.
Yeah. So not only is he an immigrant, he's a journalist, and his girlfriend's a journalist. Can you imagine the annoying stuff? And I mean, so is Peter Parker when you want to be honest about it too, right? Peter Parker works for the Daily.
He's paparazzi.
That's he's a paparazzi. He's even worse than Superman.
Yeah, he killed Princess Diana, man. Come on.
Yeah, and he's a tech bro. I hate him. I hate that dude. I always wanted, like, out of all of the superpowers, I always wanted Venom's power, dude. Because my thought was always like, I want that alien one because you're never alone. You always talk to somebody, and you're
you always got a buddy.
Me and the symbiote, you know, we're talking, and then like you never have to wash your clothes, dude. Like the Venom doesn't wash his clothes, right? Like he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make me a suit, and he looks all good, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then if you're
I think
hungry, you
that's
can just have
cool.
the animal. You can just have the alien cannibalize somebody, but it's not you doing it, so it's fine. Wait,
Right.
what?
I don't know what the noise is, you know. Um,
Don't worry
but
about it.
but yeah, so I'm always like, man, I don't like superheroes. I never did. I don't really enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, oh boy, here's right. Stan Lee was just the face of Marvel, you know. Um, would you guys believe me that I've actually never seen any of the Marvel movies, like the
I'm
new?
impressed. If you successfully avoided all of those, well done,
I,
sir.
I've actually
Anything
I
bad?
lied. I watched the first Iron Man movie. That is the
Uh,
only Marvel movie I've seen out of the Marvel universe. I don't think
I
that
mean,
one even
honestly,
counts.
you saw all of the Marvel movies. You just had to watch
Right.
Iron Man, and then they just replaced. They just did that over and over again.
Yeah. Because I don't think when that Iron Man came out, I don't think there was like the Marvel universe
No, it
yet.
wasn't. That's where it began. That was the movie that kicked it all off because it did so well and it was
Yeah,
so
that's the
fucking
only one I saw.
entertaining.
I never even saw the sequel to that because I know the sequel had like
Oh
Omega Red
no,
or whatever. You know,
no, it
no, I
wasn't
didn't
anywhere
see it.
near as good. It
No, I
wasn't
didn't see
anywhere
any
near as
of
good. I
that.
mean, I'd say if you just watch the first Iron Man, you pretty much got it because it's basically that ad libbing forever until you know Tony Stark's character dies and then nobody cared anymore.
Oh, see, I
Because
didn't even
yeah.
know. I didn't even know they killed him.
Oh,
I,
spoilers. Yeah,
whoops.
spoilers.
Oh yeah, never
Spoilers.
gonna watch it because I'm not a loser. Marvel
You're not a
movies. Get
loser
the
like
fuck
me.
out
You're
of
not a loser
here.
like me. I accept my fate. I accept
That's
the
fine.
judgment
You
of
guys can
the
like Marvel movies. I'm
tribunal.
pedestrian entertainment for the masses. I'm too fucking cool for that. I do like Batman movies, okay? And
I'm
I
too pedestrian for that, but I do like Batman.
well, Batman's different. Batman's a sophisticated man. He's a conservative superhero. He's
Batman's
rich, you know.
he
He's
beats
never
on poor
gonna
people.
win, you know.
He's very right wing coded.
He's very right wing coded. He's you know, he's a man of taste. You know, he has all his money. He's a self
Of
made
course.
man. You know,
Yeah, man.
he's beating up thugs and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a vigilante. I like
You
Batman,
know,
right?
the first movie, the first movie, PG-13 movie I ever watched was Batman, the original Tim Burton Batman.
The best one.
Yeah,
Okay,
I remember
Arthur's gonna
sitting in
disagree
my
with me, but I don't like the Nolan movies. I actually like the Tim Burton Batman's better. The best Batman media of all time is the animated series, uh,
100%, 100%,
hands
100%.
down. But I
Yeah,
prefer the Tim Burton
without a doubt.
Batman. Uh,
You know, the Nolan films, I really liked the first one. I watched the second one and I didn't really. I mean, the one with the Joker at the time, but it hasn't aged well for me.
I don't think any of them aged
I think
well.
I mean the original Burton one does, but I
Well, no,
completely agree
the
with you
Burton ones
regarding.
aged. The Burton ones aged well. I think I recently saw
I
those.
think
I think
yeah,
the Nolan ones
they're
kind
still
of
fun
like
films. Like they're fun. It's Batman, man. Jack Nicholson, Joker, fucking
Michelle Pfeiffer
take
as
yeah
Catwoman.
as
Oh
Catwoman.
my
Yeah,
god,
take me, done,
yeah.
sold. Like, and
And
it's
then
entertaining.
Danny DeVito as the Penguin, dude. Oh, so
Brilliant.
good.
Yeah, perfect.
You know,
But yeah, the animated series though, 100%. That is, I'm playing the intro title scene. You know, I'm playing the intro title in my mind, and it's just
right? So good.
perfect.
Made my day
Perfect.
back when I was a little kid. That came on
Oh,
Channel
dude, still
9.
makes my
Is
day.
it Channel
Still makes
9,
my
I think, or
day.
something? I was like, yes, dude, going for it.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and what's cool about that show is they invented some characters that like stayed in the Batman canon that were just invented
right.
for that show. I mean, everybody loves Harley Quinn, but Harley Quinn was invented by the television by that show. She wasn't a comic book
Yeah,
character. She didn't exist in the comic books. You know, same thing with Clayface. I think Clayface was invented for that television show, and that's just a great, crazy villain,
yeah.
especially today when you have all these body modification superstars and actors doing plastic surgery and like sucking out their cheekbones and stuff. That show was good. What'd you think of the latest Batman, the one with the Twilight Vampire? Did you like it?
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. The whole Twilight vampire thing turned me off to it, so I didn't bother to go see it.
All right. I liked it. Okay.
I'm
The
like, fuck
Batman or
that.
whatever it's called. I actually liked it. Okay. It in a way, it kind of mixed Tim Burton and Nolan. Um,
Hmm.
I thought he was a good. I thought he was a good Bruce Wayne. Like a year. It's like a year one Batman, and
Oh,
he's
okay.
like young.
Maybe I'll
He's
check
like
it out. Maybe I'll check it out.
he's angsty, and it's got that cool like it does this cool like it uses that Nirvana song as a leitmotif the whole time, and it's got this like Gen X kind of like dark, dreary, gonna suicide yourself kind of thing, you know.
Nice. Oh, just got banned from YouTube.
Yeah, it was incel Batman, right?
It's
You're
so
right.
bad.
You know, it was incel Batman, and it had incel Riddler. You know, like a incel Riddler, like a Red. It was Reddit Riddler, right? Like Reddit Riddler, like
Reddit
freaking
Riddler. Oh God, it's
yeah.
ugh,
That's exactly what it
ugh,
was. But it was. I thought it was
ugh.
good, man. The only thing that like sucked in it was that Catwoman kind of sucked, right? And it was
Oh no.
Zoe. It was Zoe Kravitz, Lenny Kravitz's daughter, or something like that. And I just there was no chemistry between her and what's his name, fucking Twilight vampire guy. And he's a great actor. Okay, everybody makes fun of him because of Twilight, but he's a wonderful actor.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen him in a couple things. Maybe I'll give him a try with that Batman thing. But
Oh,
I saw
dude,
him in a
like
couple
it,
things recently, and it's like,
in
wait a second. Yeah, this guy's not bad. Like,
I mean, I love him in The Lighthouse. He's amazing in The Lighthouse. You know, I don't like Twilight. I saw the first Twilight. My wife likes it. I'm like,
I
it's
don't
a
want
chick.
it. Nah,
It's a girl
nah.
movie, but he's interesting because he doesn't really have a lot of chemistry with women in his movies. That's where he like
Mm,
he
mm,
doesn't like. I don't know. I mean, he was in Harry Potter, right? And he was a great character in Harry Potter.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
loved him in Harry Potter, and he was in the darkest scene in Harry Potter when he freaking
yep.
dies, and like he you know, everybody's all sad, and like
Gets
Harry
mutilated.
comes out, you know, yeah, and yeah,
Yes, Mickey
he's.
17. I saw that
I haven't
recently,
seen
Arthur.
that.
That was surprisingly good. I didn't really expect that I was going to like it, and it's a I it was pretty solid. It was solid. He plays a couple different characters in it. The whole you'll kind of like the plot idea because he's basically like a replacement. So it's when they
Yeah,
say Mickey
clone. Yeah,
17.
I know what the plot is.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. It's all right. And the reason I liked it, I don't want to spoil it for you in case you go to see it, but um, one of his Mickeys definitely finds redemption in a very masculine way, and I loved that. I thought that was great. It was just like, yeah, that's what guys got to do. That's what fellas got to do. Like, well done, sir. And it's
no,
a giant
I'll
fuck
push
you.
that. I'll push up that up to my
Yeah, throw it on.
watch
I mean,
list.
you know what? We could even do an episode on it. That would be funny.
Yeah,
That'd
I'll
be
watch it.
silly.
I
That could
like
be
him as
cool,
an actor.
actually.
I love him.
No, no.
I love The Lighthouse. I don't know if you guys like The Lighthouse. I love The Lighthouse, man. I think that
Mm,
movie is great. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't. No. You know what?
It's just
We got to just do a Robert Pattinson episode. Fuck it.
right.
Let's
We'll do a
go.
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah.
He
Do
was
the most
also in his
homosexual
movie.
episode ever. Wait, what?
He was also in his movie where his brother was like a retard, and they like rob a
Oh,
bank,
perfect.
and he's like
Retard
trying
sold.
to.
Let's
Oh
go.
man, what is that movie? It's like a Sadfi brothers movie, and like he's like basically like they're robbing like a bank or something like that, and like I'm looking at it right now. I'll tell you what this movie is called.
All right.
Well, he was in The Lighthouse, which I love. He was in Batman. Oh, he was in
I
Water
got a
for
question.
Elephants, which was a horrible
Arthur,
movie.
If you're still listening, do you think Mickey 17 had any kind of like race overtones to it that like it was subversively criticizing, the kind of the zeitgeist or the leftist progressive zeitgeist around race? I felt like it was criticizing that kind of subtly. And especially at the end, it was like, yeah, listen, motherfuckers, if you got to fix anything, you got to have the white guys fucking get involved and they got to do what they do. I don't know if
Hmm.
he's typing his comment now, but that's what struck me, Alex. Like it made me stop and go, oh shit. They kind of just flipped the bird at, oh yeah, we gotta have, diverse and blah. No, it's gonna take dudes doing dude shit. Fuck you.
Oh, they have like the strong chick character and stuff in it or something.
Yeah, it's got all that, but I mean, at the end of the day, though, it's Mickey's character being like, I'm gonna fucking get it done, and all y'all can eat my ass. It was just pure, you know, all the good stuff.
Oh,
Librarian of
the
Solano
movie,
could write. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
the movie
So
I'm thinking
I don't know.
about, the
That's
movie I'm thinking about is Good Time.
good
When he's
time.
like this
Okay.
like white trash kind of guy, and his brother is like, it's like very like a proto Uncut Gems because it's written by the same kind of director, I think, and it's very like he's got this like kind of retarded brother, and like I don't know, like it's I don't know. Robert Pattinson is a good actor, man.
Cool. Okay.
Like I like him.
My wife will be happy to hear that.
All
So
right, so we
all that
talked about
good stuff.
everything. I think we covered
Yeah, did we
everything we're
get
going to talk
everything?
about.
We get everything?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
We're gonna
we made
call it?
fun of
We're gonna call
boomer
it?
women.
Made fun of boomers. Fuck boomers. Bunch of fucking
Yeah.
cowards.
We talked about horror. I think that horror can be a very positive genre, but I like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think horror is its
Ooh.
own genre.
One thing I wanted to mention about horror, especially like as we're trying to think of can it be reactionary, as in can it direct you to higher things? Can you really read the book of Revelation and not be horrified to a certain
Right,
extent? I mean, it's got a happy ending, but holy shit, right?
right, right,
Anyway,
right. Uh, Kind of like my favorite kind of like feeling of horror is not like the fear itself, but I like oh, what's that horror called? Like where something seems out of place, right?
mm, yeah, kind of an
What's that word?
existential misplacement,
When you look at like a body and there's a word for it, like
uncanny,
the
not uncanny, but
uncanny, right?
is
It
that
is
the word?
uncanny, right?
Okay,
Uncanny
yeah, yeah,
valleys that look when you see
yeah. There's
something
something,
that's like that's not right, you know? And I
yeah,
like that. I like that, and that's what Twin Peaks
yes,
does really well. And
yes, hmm,
Twin Peaks plays with the idea of like the uncanny like feeling of a small town, which is all wholesome, but then there's a
yeah, it's great,
creepy
but
black lodge and
Cthulhu's
demons.
hanging out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Like that that
Eldritch.
cosmic kind of the eldritch kind of feeling, where it's like
Have
um,
you ever been to Ohio?
you
Just
know,
kidding.
um yeah, that's very uncanny place. Eerie
Yeah,
is the word, right? Like the uncanny and the eerie.
Lake
And
Erie.
I like that where it's like I don't know, I think that's like a cool thing because some things are just
Yeah,
eerie. Like the ocean's eerie, right? It's
yeah,
almost
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like what's
The mountains
beneath the
are eerie.
waves. The
The
mountains
snow
are
is
eerie,
eerie. The bears
right?
are eerie.
Right. Your mom, it's just
Yeah,
terrifying, right?
absolutely.
It's like uh and that's it. I mean, that's what David Lynch was good at, right?
Yeah,
He
man.
did a really good job of like making things feel like, one minute you're in a diner and having a great, damn good cup of coffee, and then you've got Bob,
And then Bob's
possessing
murdering
your
your
body.
sister and raping her corpse.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's like, that's the kind of stuff I tend to like, where it's like things that's not what I mean, it's why I loved the X Files growing up. I used to watch X Files nonstop, and
Oh
that
yeah.
that was filled with like that, like, yeah, everything's normal, but is it? You know, I think we
But
can
is
I think we can do an entire like conversation and then maybe one for the future, which would be really interesting is what was it with late boomer and Gen X directors? Probably this is like a Gen X thing where and this is coming from a foreigner, right? And you guys might have some
yeah.
insight. I'm not gonna go deep into it, but I want to like maybe in comments on this, right? What was it with the Tim Burton vibe, right? And you kind of mentioned this, right? Which is the biggest horror for somebody, some Gen Xer in the 80s was the suburb, right?
Mm,
Like the idea that um, you know, underneath the beautiful suburban lawn there's something evil, right? Like in a small suburban neighborhood some evil kind
yeah.
of crawls. I mean that's
Remember
like
that? Remember that X Files episode, Arcadia, where Mulder and Scully go to the suburbs, and it's like a literal South American demon living under the living under the
yeah,
grass, and it's
that
controlled
was a
by
great
the HOA association. I mean, that is the quintessential version. That's the quintessential episode of what you're talking about. All of that
right.
just wrapped up in a perfect, eldritch horror murdering people because they didn't trim their lawn to the correct length.
Right. Well, like Tim Burton really hated the suburbs, man. Tim
Yeah.
Burton
Oh,
like really hated
jeez.
in Edward
Yep.
Scissorhand,
Yeah. Yeah.
Beetlejuice,
Oh
in
yeah.
all those movies, he hates the suburbs. Like he just hates suburban people. You get that motif a lot in his generation's movies, like the
I
Gen
think I
Xer.
think I think there's something to that because something I've been thinking about, like eventually I'm going to write a follow up to Against Boomers, and I think it's going to be against boomerism. And I think part of what makes people so pissed off about the suburbs is the the suburbs are fundamentally a lie. So like, my parents, God love them, but so many people move to the suburbs to give their kids a good education. a good home, a good community to grow up in. And as we grow into adults, we're beginning to realize that it did none of those things. Because think about how many millennials and Gen Xers moved away from home and
Right.
lived somewhere else. It's because we grew up, we had good schools, we had plenty to eat, we had all this stuff, we had all the material possessions, but we were spiritually homeless. And I think that's the thing that we're discovering. Oh yeah, I grew up in this beautiful suburb and life was great and this and that, but I have no church, I have no home, I have no community. I am fully and completely deracinated
And alienated. Well, so you know what's
and
interesting
alienated.
is that
Yeah.
there's two. I kind of want to explore this further, right? In maybe a
Mhm.
different episode, and I
Yeah,
need to
yeah, yeah.
think about it, and maybe read about it. But here's
Yeah,
some
we need to
thoughts,
think about
right?
it more. Yeah, all
Here's
right.
some thoughts on this one because I want everybody's thoughts too. Now,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
imagine yourself living in the 80s in Soviet Russia, or even like the shittier places like Kazakhstan, former Republic of blah blah blahistan, right? Or just anywhere, even Romania, any of these places, right? And you're living in your shitty ass apartment block, brutalist commie nonsense, right? And you're seeing this movie like something like Poltergeist or Edward Scissorhands, and you're like, holy crap, I want to live there. Like, to the American audience, it's horrible, right? I mean, the whole thing about Poltergeist is that they move into this brand new development and it's haunted, right? Uh, to a guy living in Eastern Europe, people are like, yo, I'll live with a fucking ghost. I'd rather live there than with the freaking,
Like
in
that
this,
ghost coffee. Hey, ghost, come to church. You know?
right?
Yeah,
Like,
you're your best friend.
you're like, do I want to live in the Soviet bloc? No, I'm gonna live right in that. I don't care if bodies pop in the pool. At least I have a pool, right? You know what I mean? So it's such a funny thing to think about it from like an outsider perspective, to look at that, right? Same thing with Tim Burton. Like I'd be grown up, I'd be like, yeah, I'll live in with those weirdos and that Edward Scissorhands movies. I'm all about that. I don't give a crap if there's a creepy dude with fucking scissors for hands and everybody's weird. I'm down with it. That looks amazing. It looks beautiful, right? So there's this weird like American like hatred of the suburbs. But interestingly enough, in contemporary times, you have a show like Stranger Things, and I like Stranger Things. It's not like it's not a great show. It's a good show though, right? And Stranger Things is a show that is made by people my age. I think the writer directors are my age, right? And like so our age, yours and our age. And the suburbs, the show itself is like a homage to 80s like horror movies and 80s kind of stuff, right? Like there's Dungeons and Dragons, it takes place in the 80s. There's bikes, Stephen King, Steven Spielberg references, all kinds of stuff like that. But there isn't any negative vibes about the suburbs. Matter of fact, they portray the suburbs in a very positive way. It's a good thing. They even leave the suburbs and go to California, and they're not happy about it. They want to go back to Indiana, wherever the hell the show takes place in, right? And I thought that was very interesting that our
Uh-huh.
generation wants the suburbs, maybe because we can't afford them, right? I mean, I can't live in the suburbs now, but maybe because so many of us miss the suburbs. There was an ideal time for the greatest time in America, but the people that lived in them when they were built hated them, which is really interesting. So that's something to explore that's a dude riding a dirt bike down my road. Fucking suburbs, dude.
Yeah. I got a feeling I got a storm coming in too, man. Because I don't know if you noticed, but I got booted at one point.
Yeah, I'm fine. I think we're good. I gotta put my daughter to sleep. Anyways, guys, all you guys in the chat, thank you for joining
All
us.
right, we're wrapping up.
Absolutely, Arthur. We can fight
Yeah,
that
guys.
clown, dude. Like that clown's not even scary. Did you guys see the I don't know if before I leave, did you guys see the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episode with it? It was it was recent, one of the more recent
Classic,
episodes,
classic,
and it was
man.
pretty good. Did you see it? Have you seen it? Did you see it? It was
Classic
pretty
stuff.
good. Yeah,
The most
and
recent
like
one, no. I just know Treehouse of Horror from 89 years ago.
they did an
Whenever I was a kid or
episode
whatever.
where Krusty the Clown was like
Oh
it,
God,
and like it was pretty
nice.
good. Like it was probably the only good Simpsons episode in forever. And that's
Yeah.
because I was like, I wanted my daughter to watch like Simpsons, and I was like, well, where do we start? and we just watched all the Treehouse of Horror ones, and
Perfect.
those are the best. Those are the best Simpsons, man. It's like the best. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to our live show. This will be edited and put out for you guys that missed it. Once again, please like, share, and subscribe. I love all you guys' comments. It's really fun to do this. It feels like we're all sitting around a coffee shop, a small coffee shop that serves the best Ethiopian darkest roast, the Black Ibis roast.
Yes.
So,
Black Ibis roast, where we roast your mom.
Yeah, I only slept like 2 hours last night, so this
Oof.
episode was powered by Philip Morris Zins or whoever makes Zins, and lots of nicotine. Does Philip Morris make Zin? Who makes Zin?
I have no idea. I just have black coffee, boomer juice, baby. I don't even know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I'm a Gen Z, bro. I pop in the
whatever.
No, it's actually like Swedish Match, Richmond, Virginia, something. Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. Please toss us some cash because Zins are $4.99 for a 10, and I go through one of them like per episode.
Help us manage Alex's. Help us pay for Alex's nicotine habit, or I'll call you a retard. That's
and we'll have a new episode. We got guests coming up. We got the back end of season 2 around Thanksgiving. We're gonna end the season and we're gonna take a break probably, and come back around Christmas like we did last year for season 3. So this is we might be the longest podcast on Substack.
Yeah, certainly the greatest.
Do you remember when we started? There was a bunch of people that also started podcasts, but they didn't last. They didn't last on a weekly basis like we do.
Yeah, well, it's just you picked the perfect co-host who just runs on spite. So it's perfect.
We run on spite, Zin, and caffeine,
spite,
guys.
Hate, caffeine. Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite Zin is the coffee flavored one, and I drink black coffee with a Zin in my mouth. So it basically it's nicotine and that creamy flavor of the nicotine mixed with the black coffee. That is a man's dip, Wow. But that's how I roll. But yeah, man. Thanks, guys, for listening. It's awesome having you guys in the comments. I'm enjoying the live version of these shows. I like all of you guys. We have a lot of openings in the very near future. So if you guys have any guests you'd like to have on or return, please let me know, and I'll invite you or whoever you want me to invite. I need to do an office day where I sit down and I send out invitations and stuff. I'm due for that. I've just been really busy. Believe it or not, guys, having a weekly podcast is a lot of work. Phisto and I do a lot of work. We do a lot of planning and topic discussions and behind the scenes, schnickery and cloak and dagger stuff, right?
Occasional violence,
occasional violence,
occasional targeted assassination.
There's certain podcasts that appeared, tried to come take the crown from us, and they're no longer around. They just disappeared.
Yeah, if you come for the king, don't miss. If you come for the Black Ibis, don't miss.
Right?
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And I got to pay these internet bills, man, because I've got the shittiest internet on the face of the planet. I don't know if you guys I'm telling you guys that live in South Carolina know my pain. Okay. There's a monopoly of Sparklight freaking cable internet. It is the worst internet ever. All right. It all works. I have to time these episodes when my daughter's at dance class, because as soon as she pops on like the Disney Plus or like play some Fortnite or something like that, boom, I'm done. I lose all bandwidth instantly, and I'm paying for like the high end kind, and I don't know what's going on with Sparklight, man. You guys suck. If Sparklight employees listening, curse upon you.
Fix your shit. Fix your shit.
All right, guys. Good night. Good night, Phisto. We will be on next week, same time, Tuesday. All right. Good night.